Williams.
Yes, Alan Williams. He's the extension officer for apiculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and he will be best positioned to direct your course.
Right. He has been a great help, actually. He's actually visited our hives twice now and done the inspections.
Yeah, so, he's a wonderful young man.
Yes,
so, you know, he's somebody that should really keep in contact with Alan, and Alan should be able to direct your course.
Okay.
But
thank you.
If you want to get part of, if you want to integrate with a larger grouping of beekeepers quickly, I would advise you to touch base with Tashika. I think I sent you her number.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
And there's a Zoom meeting tomorrow, which I've been invited to do a presentation on the regional project.
Okay, that sounds good.
So if you can you could be a part of that. I think you would get a lot of information. But hopefully what we're trying to do here in the honey show we're having in December, once I can put in the right protocols between myself and Jeff, that we can allow in regional competitors. So we'll have a regional class or an international class where everybody can enter honey. And so once we can get the protocols and approved by the Ministry of Agriculture, that they're happy that we will have this. They will allow us to just bring in honey just for that one occasion.
Right. Okay.
Yes, at least so we can have a real international event. Hopefully, COVID, everybody will got their injection by then, and the airlines will be flying, and everything will be back to normal. And you could come in person and compete. You could come in person and compete. I know I want Karla and Jennifer to come down to judge our first competition. So the whole objective is to, let's get everybody vaccinated and do the right thing, and let's everybody so that we can get back to normal or some semblance of normal.
Just a year ago, we were all saying this will be over in 2 weeks.
Ah, God, it's 18 months later. Well. The coin still hasn't dropped yet, but hopefully everything is going to be sorted out, and we can all travel and participate, and once again become appreciate being members of the human race and one big family, and all of us can function together just like our bees, one single purpose, so let's hope we can get back into that direction. I did have somebody from who also wanted to say something. This guy, this gentleman, let me find him. Yeah, Nick. Okay, so Nick's got his hand up. So Andy, you're good to go?
Good to go, thank you.
You're not going to give us a few words, no couple of Rolling Stone lines, you're not going to give us...
At this moment in time, I just can't get any satisfaction.
At that point, at that juncture, I'm gonna mute you.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Andy. Keep in contact, and if anything, I'm sure I'll share my email and my telephone number, whatever. You could always touch base with me afterwards.
All right? Thank you very much.
Take care.
Keep safe.
All right. And Nick. Nick, if you can unmute your mic and you can make your contribution, sir.
Hello there. Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are, sir.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Richard. And I'm afraid I can't give you any Rolling Stones lyrics, so I'm feeling not as good as the previous gentleman. I just wanted to say thanks for. Yesterday I found a fascinating session. Looking forward to today's session as well.
Good.
And I just wanted to say hello to everybody there, particularly all the honey producers in St. Lucia. So my name is Nick Schlepfer, so Nick is just fine. And I work for a company called Mellyworks, and we've just been engaged to do a project in St. Lucia, though sadly we're not going to be able to visit. It's horrible with all this COVID. Yes. But basically we're working with Export St. Lucia and the Inter-American Development Bank to help develop a plan for marketing St. Lucia honey in international markets. So it's great to be able to connect with some beekeepers and some bee producers in St. Lucia over yesterday and today. And so what I just wanted to do, hopefully we're going to be in touch more over the coming weeks, as Export St. Lucia is going to be putting us in touch with the different beekeepers. But maybe if I could just leave my name and my contact details in the chat, and I'd be really, really looking forward to hearing from any honey producers in St. Lucia that could be interested in this, in sort of developing a plan for accessing international markets and for selling your honey abroad. So great to connect. You know, as I said, I'll leave my contact details. It'd be great to hear from you. Any questions, just drop me an email. Okay.
Cool. Right. If anything, Nick, what you could probably do, maybe we could, I think I sent an email to your colleague, and I did say if she needs anything, we could try and schedule a Zoom. We can schedule a Zoom meeting and we could put together a few people and we could have a conversation. So whenever you're ready, just touch base. I think you've got my contact information on my email address already. And we can definitely try to structure something with everybody at some point in time in the near future.
That would be brilliant. Thanks very much indeed for that, Richard. Appreciate it.
All right, mate. Good. Okay, cheers. So that was Nick from Melly Works. All right, so let's any more hands up? Okay, morning. Okay, we've got a couple of quick questions. All right, so I'm gonna mute Nick. All right, so let's move forward. So it's now a little after 10. So Karla, it's all yours. The floor is yours, should I say.
Okay, wonderful. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope so.
They should.
Okay. Well, I'm humbled and honored to be presenting to an international audience. I'm not sure I've done that before in the beekeeping world, so I'm thrilled. So I missed yesterday, so hopefully I won't repeat very much from yesterday, but I do know Jennifer well, and I know that that was a wonderful presentation. So what I hope to do today is I hope to talk a little bit about, you know, now that you heard hours and hours of what you need to do, I hope to help give you some resources and places you can go to find some of that help. And also, I have a giant pep talk in here about why you really should participate in the honey show. So just a minute or two about myself. I've been keeping bees maybe 15 years. Very early on, I was inspired by my mentor to enter honey shows, and my husband, who came from the wine industry, really gravitated towards the honey. And, you know, we've just been really excited and loving participating in the honey shows. So I actually have a full-time job, but on the side, we run the backyard farm. That's our apiary. And we have this nonprofit called the Api Solutions Consortium, which I will introduce you to today. Okay, so here we go. So in every talk I give, I like to honor and just give, you know, gratitude. I didn't come here by myself. I came here with the help of some very smart and wise mentors. And they really range from Virginia to Vermont to the United Kingdom. And, you know, I just like to honor them. So I list them here. So one of the things that's almost never mentioned when we talk about honey shows, it starts with the bees, right? I mean, you absolutely have to know what you're doing as a beekeeper, and you have to set those bees up in good conditions to raise lots of honey and really wax too. So I like to just remind folks, it starts with the bees. And these are some pictures of a very full box of honey here and a beautiful frame of honey on the right. And secondly, you really have to remember that honey is a food product and you need the proper handling of the raw materials. And in this picture, essentially what we're showing you is how all the honey boxes are put on these trays. So you don't see honey all over this truck. I mean, what would happen if there were honey all over this truck? It would be a massive cloud of bees. You would bring that into your extracting area. It would be very messy. You would have bees in your honey. So, you know, this is just a simple picture to show you, you know, one method of covering up your boxes very securely from bees. And even in this picture, you can see, well, the truck moves, so some of these boxes moves. bees are going to get in there. So this is a saying most of us know, cleanliness is next to godliness. So remember that honey is a food product, and you want to approach your extracting of honey like it is a food product with the highest standards of cleanliness. And guess what? All of the judging criteria in a honey show reflect this same exact concept: cleanliness, clear honey, lack of debris. You know, I'm sure Jennifer talked about that yesterday. I'll talk about that a little today. And cleanliness from the entire process, from when you take the honey off to the extracting to the packing of the honey in jars. You're going to see a lot of pictures today of how to handle jars and how to pick up honey by the lid, so not to get your fingerprints all over the jars. And this is an expression I got somewhere: the only thing better than washing your hands in the honey house is using clean gloves. And here in the States, I'm from the United States, here, you know, when we are preparing for a honey show, we are often wearing those latex or rubber, or not dish gloves, but those like surgical gloves. So, you know, it's always helpful in the honey house to have a bucket of hot water or warm water and a box of gloves. Because this is what we're aiming for. This beautiful, stunning, gleaming display of honey, it does not come, you know, is not going to look this way if you have dirty hands and bees in your honey and you're just a mess. A lot of my experience has been with the Eastern Apicultural Society, which is a very big organization here in the United States of beekeepers, and this is their honey show. And I mean, everybody, it's a little weird presenting because I can only see Richard. I can't see anybody else. So I don't know your reactions. That's okay. You know, maybe you can just do like thumbs up.
It's a webinar. It's a
Yeah.
webinar. So
it's okay.
We've got everybody at the lock and key.
Okay, well, hopefully everybody agrees that this is a beautiful site, and this is what we're aiming for in a honey show. I mean, I'm just talking about the one class, honey, but this is an inspiring site. So why bother? Why bother entering a honey show? Well, I'm not a honey show historian, although I do love to study what I can find about the honey show. But from what I do know, honey shows had a real place in the United Kingdom and also in this country. You know, they were part of little local fairs. I don't know if you have that in the Caribbean, local fairs. And honey show entrants, they were able to use, you know, their prizes and their ribbons for marketing. So you would go to a little fair and you're able to say, you know, my honey won, or my wax or my candles won this. You know, secondly, who doesn't like a little bit of friendly competition to encourage you to do better? And honey shows let us show our best skills, what we've learned, and those skills are reflected in our products, whether it be candles or honey or mead or something like that. And again, a little bit of a repeat, but you can use your results from entering a honey show and your ribbons. You can use them to advertise your product and to get what we call here brand awareness. That would be like your label or your business. And then lastly, one of my favorite things to share, and I got this idea from my husband. There's so much bad news about bees. You know, what do we hear? We hear all about mites and diseases and colony collapse. So guess what? The honey show is our chance to spread positive news about honeybees and the products of the hive. And it's such a glorious way to do it, whether it's for other beekeepers or some honey shows invite the public. It allows us to tell the good news about honeybees. So you have to be in it to win it, right?
That's right. That's right.
You're not going to win if you never enter. So this picture is from the National Honey Show in England. And as Richard was talking earlier about international entries, the National Honey Show in England has a class called Rest of the World, which means everybody except for those from the United Kingdom can enter this class, the rest of the world. And at the time, these are very special jars they're modeled after a jar made by a man, Charles Muth, in the United States. They're a replica historic jar. And at the time, they were not available anywhere outside of the United States. And my husband and I did the crazy thing of bringing honey on an airplane, that's a whole different set of skills there. Bottling this honey, putting it on the shelf. And you can see this picture here. This picture here was on the front page of the British Beekeepers Association magazine. And here I am with my card. And you know what? We only won like 4th or 5th place. But I just want to show you that smile on my face because that's how good it feels to win any place in a honey show. And winning at the national is like just out of this world experience. But you're not going to have this experience unless you try. So give it a try. So wait, hold on a second. Okay, so this is also from the National Honey Show. This is my mentor, Mike Palmer, my husband, George Wilson. You can see here the 24 jar class. These are some of the prizes that they award at the National Honey Show. Now, we don't have anything like that over here. Maybe you can aspire to, but this is just a glorious sight of the silver medals, silver trophies, that are at the National Honey Show. But over here, our honey shows tend to look a little bit more like this. This is in some kind of, cold, dirty barn. But you know what? The feeling of getting this enormous Best in Show ribbon is the same. Whether I got a silver trophy or I got this little ribbon in this kind of, country fair here. And I just want to show how exciting it is to be able to win anything. Now, this is not the greatest picture, but you see, I'm starting to show you how to hold the honey jars. On the right here, this is a honey show that was a little bit of a mess. But even still, it's still a glorious sight to see all this honey on display. And on the right, here is my friend winning the best in class for his mead. And just look at that face. Look how happy he is to win this beautiful silver plate. So it's not just honey and products of the hive. There's also photographs. This is me at the National showing off my photograph that was in the Bee Craft calendar.
Nice.
Yeah, probably none of you have ever seen snow like that. We hardly see snow like that. This again is a prize-winning photograph I was awarded at EAS. So again, you have to be in it to win it. I know I feel a little bit like a show off, but that's not my goal here. My goal is to inspire you to enter because you just never know. This photograph won first place. Who would have thought? And again, just some photographs, some honey. This woman here, this is Virginia Webb. She's pretty well known in the honey show world. She won an enormous silver bowl and a silver plate for her honey. It's just a great feeling. I will take a moment here just to tell you that for a long time in the United States, they use these horrible cards. And you can see they really block the entire jar. You can't even see the honey from the shelf. So we have gotten away from using these cards, but in case anyone's wondering what are these giant things hanging off the honey, that's what that is. Okay, I think I'm almost done with the show off photos. These are not mine, okay? I have nowhere near these expertise. But look what you can do with wax. I think if I'm correct, this is St. Valentine, who's the patron saint of beekeeping. I think this is a British fairy tale, Thumbelina from Peter Pan. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's who this is. Incredible work. It's amazing what you can do with wax. And you can see these are honey entries right next to it, just how beautiful they look. Okay, Monica's on the call from Maryland. Monica won. She didn't just win first place, she won best in class. So that means she won the best honey out of light, medium, dark, maybe even comb. I don't know. She won the first place and this gorgeous silver plate. Look at her enormous smile. Let's take a guess. Is this the first time Monica entered a show or the 25th time?
Who knows?
First time.
Oh my
First
God.
time. I mean, this woman has a gift, okay, clearly, but I just want to go back. You got to be in it to win it. You want this incredible smile on your face too one day. You want your honey to have this gorgeous blue ribbon or any color ribbon. You got to enter a honey show. So thanks to Monica for sharing some of these photos with us. This is my friend Mark Fiegel. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 awards at the American Bee Federation. This is one of the most humble men I know. He knows how to prepare a product of the hive. So, you know, he may not have the same smile as Monica, but he is just as proud of his winning entries. Okay. So I'm going to take a break from all that pep talk. I hope I've inspired you to enter a honey show and given you some reasons why, and introduced you to the AP Solutions Consortium. So this is a small not-for-profit organization that my husband and I run. And it is like a place that consolidates information about how to prepare honey and products of the hive. And you can see, I hope I'm able to show you this live. You can see that we have different menus on top. And just as a drill down, you know, you can go here and a lot of what Jennifer went over yesterday, you can find under these tabs, how to prepare beeswax and comb honey and extracting. And also here, judging products. You know, Richard, when he's ready to, you know, get into the weeds of the honey show, there's some sample rules. So I'm going to see if I can open. Okay, so can you see the website now?
Yes, we can. I can. Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, let's see if I can get rid of that. Okay, so one of my favorite things is the event page. It's actually a big motivation to why I even did this. So I try to get a list of different, you can see here's your event right here. I try to the best of my ability to find out about events and put them on this website. And let's see, Jennifer mentioned that she is speaking in April. So let's open up her event right here. If you open it up, whoops, sorry about that. I'm nervous, so I'm shaking a little in my fingers on the mouse. So you can see her event. You can save it to your own Google Calendar. All the information about the event is there. So we had a lot of slow months. It was really, really sad. And I am so happy to be able to list events again. I'll certainly put yours up here when it's scheduled. At the beginning, there's a sign up. If you want to sign up for this website, once a month, it will list all the events that have been added. So that's events. Let's talk about product preparation. So if you go here, let's pick comb honey. You pick comb honey. There are a number of resources how to make comb honey. You know, different resources, different you know, different, some are videos, some are PowerPoints, but this will walk you through specifically, you know, how to make comb honey like a pro. I try not to put anything up on here that's just kind of like any Joe. I try to put up only people that are really experts in their field. So Virginia Webb, she's absolutely one of the world's experts in products of the hive. She has a number of videos here. Mike Palmer's is also, you know.
Hi, Karla, sorry to disturb.
Oh,
Have you changed screen because we're still seeing the API Solutions Consortium page?
okay. Let me try that again. Let
Yeah,
me
you may
try.
have to restart your
Yeah.
share.
Oh, okay. Well, that's weird, but okay, no problem.
Let's restart your PowerPoint.
Okay. So what I did is I went up under product preparation and I went down to comb honey. So, you know, just showing, it's just an example to show you, you know, what is under this particular tab. Now, maybe I'm going to have to show you, for each one. And if so, can you see extracting now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So again, this is a fabulous video of Virginia showing how to extract. This is a PDF showing the process. So I'm not going to go through every product. I just want to show you, give you some ideas of some of the resources here. You know, this is somewhat targeted for the beekeepers in Virginia. So we have special tabs just for Virginia rules and regulations. But a lot of this is applicable to everybody. So I don't know, can you see this all about honey?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is, you know, less about honey shows, more about different things about honey itself, how it's made. This is a really fun little video, a history lesson about honey made in Virginia that features some of us. So that's just to give you some idea about what's on this page in terms of product preparation and marketing. So let's talk about honey shows. I'm going to go down to this, show prep tips and tricks. So can everybody see this?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
If I can, everybody should be able to.
This is, I think, one of the places that you will want to look at if you're going to enter a honey show. I gathered a lot of information here to give folks a really wide range of links where they can go to get all those tips and tricks that Jennifer talked about yesterday. A lot of that is documented in these presentations. And once again, we have Virginia Webb because she did a series of 4 videos and she really knows what she's talking about. So I just really wanted to highlight this for folks so that they didn't, I'm sure folks left yesterday being absolutely amazed, but now today you're sitting there like, boy, did I take notes for everything she said? Well, guess what? You can come to this website, you can open up some of these documents, and a lot of what you saw Jennifer talking about are going to be in these various presentations. And then lastly, I'll just show you a little bit. I have quite a lot of work to do on honey show rules here, but I have listed various rules from different kinds of honey shows here. And you know, anyway, I hope that's enough. I just encourage you to go to this website and you'll be able to find all sorts of stuff here. So let me see if I can manage to go back to my PowerPoint. So are we back at the PowerPoint now?
Not yet. We're still on your website.
Okay. I guess I have to share, like stop share and then go back for whatever reason. That's okay. Okay. So I know it's kind of a mouthful of a name. Richard maybe can put it in the chat. All right. So a few more pictures of beautiful products displayed in a honey show, just to give you an idea of what we're aiming for here. We're aiming for this level of cleanliness and shining beauty in a honey show. You know, I've seen honey shows everywhere, from an outside tent, you know, to this window, to a garage. You know, it doesn't matter where you do it. This is the New Jersey, that's a state in the United States, the New Jersey Association Honey Show. And what they do when they judge their show, and you notice here, all the jars have their labels on them. And the reason they do that is because they put their honey show on display in the state capitol for 3 weeks. So remember, right in the beginning, I was saying honey shows are the good news about beekeeping. So this is just an idea. A honey show isn't just about the competition and the prizes. A honey show can be about public education about bees and the products of the hive. So I just absolutely love this idea that this honey show is in the state capitol on display. This is the Minnesota Honey Show. And I don't know whose picture this is. I borrowed it from the internet. This is one of the very largest honey shows in the United States. And again, just a picture to show you just how incredible a honey show can be. So let's just spend a few more minutes talking about preparing for a honey show. The very first thing you need to do is read the show schedule and the show rules very closely. You need to understand what the guidelines are and what they're looking for, because every show is different. So I don't know what you're going to evolve to in St. Lucia or the Caribbean. Here in this country, every single show is different. So you really need to know the rules, and you really need to know what we call the entry times. You know, you can't show up 2 hours late with your entry. In most shows, they won't receive it, and all your effort, you know, it will be very disappointing. Most shows give you some piece of paper that has comments or a numerical score. So that's something I strongly encourage. Especially in a small show, I encourage that the judges have the time to give you some feedback about your product. And sometimes in honey shows, another thing that I love to do is set up time where the judges are in the room there and they're able to talk to you about your entry, and you're able to get actual feedback about your entry. So this is a picture of how you handle a jar for the honey show. This is another one of this was my first teacher, actually, Mr. Robert Wellemeyer. He's the first person to inspire me to enter a honey show. And here he is judging a honey show. You can see his tools in the background, his water, his toothpicks for tasting, his refractometer case here, and the American system, we often use something called a polariscope instead of a torch. So I just love this picture because I see a lot in it. I see a lot in this picture. So how do you handle a jar for honey, and what are the judges looking at? So a lot of these next slides, you're going to see numbers, because the American system gives a quantitative score, which is different than what they do in Florida, in Georgia, and in the United Kingdom. But the things they're looking for, the criteria they're looking at, are exactly the same. So I just wanted to explain what those numbers are. If you're not going to use numbers, don't even worry about them. So what are we looking for in a jar of honey? We're looking for the cleanliness and the appearance of the container. I mean, look at this container. It is just absolutely sparkling clean. Freedom from crystals. Now, maybe in the Caribbean, this is not your problem because it's warm, but we have a big problem here with our honey crystallizing. So, you know, you want to make sure that you are treating that honey well, that you are storing it at good temperature so that you do not have crystals in the honey. That is why we use a polariscope or a torch or flashlight to look through the honey and see if you can see crystals. Filling accuracy. This one is my nemesis. This is the one that I struggle with the most. There's usually very detailed instructions about how full the jar has to be. Essentially, you don't want to see light in between the lid and the jar. You want to only see honey. Cleanliness and freedom from foam. You know, I don't know how much Jennifer showed you yesterday, but that is kind of like the white bubbly foamy stuff on top of the honey. If you watch some of those videos that I showed you, people will give you all sorts of tips and tricks about using a metal spoon to get the foam off. There's all kinds of tricks. Now, flavor. Predominantly, flavor is only judged for objectionable things. There is a black jar class, many do, that is just on taste. It's highly subjective. Most honey shows in the other classes are looking for, has this honey been overheated? Is it burnt? Is it fermented? Those are the issues in flavor. And then lastly, density, and that's the water content in honey. I know absolutely nothing about Caribbean honey. Okay. So it could be that you have different honeys that are more watery or less watery. I think this is something that, you'll have to figure out if is density and how you want to judge density.
We have I think a lot of the Caribbean honeys, because of we're in a tropical climate, and the humidity, you'll find that the moisture content will be a little high. So it's something what I've always advised beekeepers that they need to focus on getting the moisture content down to at least 17%.
Yeah.
It's off the bat, it's normally like about 19 and above, which
Okay. Yeah.
that's difficult. It's
Yeah.
already in the danger zone. So
Yeah.
you need to focus on getting their honey down below 19%, and ideally in the ranges of 70, down to somewhere in the range of 17. Because honey is hygroscopic and it will draw the moisture from the air around you. So
Yeah. Exactly.
so they need to. We did discuss this yesterday, and I did suggest that beekeepers should invest in a little refractometer, a little portable one, manual one. When you're in the field, you think you're ready to extract honey. Just take a couple of drops from the hive in the field and see where it's at. If it's at 20% and above, there is absolutely no reason to move that honey from that
Yeah.
location, unless you've got a drying room and you want to invest money in electricity and fans and a dehumidifier and some
Yeah.
circulation, and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we did touch on that yesterday.
Okay.
But moisture it would be an issue in the Caribbean, and it's something that beekeepers need to be more, they need to zoom in on that.
Yeah. Well, again, I just want to go back to my first slides about, why enter a honey show. I mean, sure, I love all that. I love all the prizes. I love all that. But these are the same criteria that your honey should have if you're selling it, and it should look this good on a store shelf. So we just don't make this stuff up because, we're trying to drive everybody crazy to win a prize. These are the same criteria that you should be thinking about if you're selling honey or even just using it yourself. And so Richard has made a compelling argument about density and why density is so important. I will say in the United Kingdom, in the national, their density level, they call it 20% or less, and that has always been something very interesting to me. I've always just assumed, and I don't know this is true, that they also have quite a moisture problem. Um, the British system does not use the measurements in the show. The American system, people die over this. This is like, I can't tell you enough how critical the moisture level of your honey is for most American judges. It's a little absurd, but it is what it is. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. I'm sure Jennifer went over these things, but I thought it might be helpful just to have them on a PowerPoint, just so you could actually see them. I don't know. There's different opinions on this. I was taught to put I don't know if you call it cling film. We call it saran wrap. I was taught to put this and then take it off at the show. More recently, people have said that's totally unnecessary. But this is a remnant of when I used to do that. Okay, cut comb honey. So just again, to go over some of the criteria, the judging criteria for cut comb. Again, the container, is it clean and is it suitable? Is it the right container? Many honey shows will tell you exactly what type of container they want you to use. Others are going to be less specific. Uniformity of appearance. Boy, this is a gorgeous example of cut comb. You see this ridge is straight. You can even see how pretty uniform it is. I bet right here is where the judge put a glass rod in to taste it. The weight is looked at, the absence of watery cappings and uncapped cells. You can't really see watery cappings well from this distance. The absence of travel stain, which is, when the bees, walk all over the comb. So you don't want dirty comb honey. You don't want pollen. You don't want crushed wax. You don't want a big pile of liquid honey seeping out of here. And you want it to be neat. So I think if you go to our website and you look at any of those videos or presentations, you will find a lot of tips about how to make sure you don't have liquid honey, how to cut this so that it looks this gorgeous. You know, you can see here, there's, if you really, I mean, this is a highly competitive show. I know where this picture is from. At a highly competitive show, every little thing is going to matter. And these little bubbles could be the difference between first and second place. But normally that's, you know, no one's even going to see that. So I just wanted to give you a little bit about cut comb honey and then chunk honey. So let me just say, my husband said, why are you using that picture? I said, because, you know, people should know what a poor selection is. So this is not the greatest. And, you know, first of all, there's these watery cappings, these dark cappings. It's totally uneven. It's floating. It's like, I don't know, it's like 3 inches from the bottom. So it's cloudy. There's a lot wrong with this picture. Junk honey, I don't even know if you'll have it in the class. Junk honey, in my opinion, is the absolute hardest thing to produce well, because you need to produce the honey well, and you need to essentially produce cut comb honey well, and then you need to combine it, and then get a piece that's going to stick to the bottom. There's all kinds of tips. I can't say any of them have worked for me really well, but I've tried, I've given it a try. So essentially the criteria for chunk honey is a combination of that for extracted honey and that of cut comb. So I just want to give you a little picture there. So beeswax, this is my husband judging beeswax at the New Jersey State Association show. You can see, you know, some of what judges look at. He has a flashlight, or maybe you call it a torch. He has a scale. You can see every entry has a piece of paper where he's going to write comments. You must have many, many pencils with you. There's his toothpicks back there, his corkscrew for opening the mead. These are some of the items from a judging kit. So American shows predominantly ask for wax to be in blocks. I don't know what you will do in St. Lucia or the Caribbean. You might go to the wax cake, which is a more rounded version of a wax block that's used in Britain. But you know, I can only show you what I know best. So I know wax blocks. At EAS, it's a 2-pound block of wax. That's this. To me, this is just an absolutely stunning picture. You have no idea how hard it is to get a huge wax block to look like that with no cracks. This is the wax cake. This is what you see mostly in the United Kingdom and in the Florida shows. This might be what you are going to use in your show. You know, you can't stick a flashlight or a torch through a 2-pound wax block, but generally you can through a wax cake. But even in this cake, my trained eye, I can see bumps, you know. Now I know, look, this is a picture, I'm sure, from a highly competitive show. You know, I mean, if you're going to have your first show, everyone's just, you got to be in it to win it. You know, you're not going to be perfect when you first start, and that is fine. You may never be perfect. That's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to just, you know, keep getting better. So this is another thing that I have found very strange, but all American shows have it. The wax is always covered in the cling film or the saran wrap. And mostly that's because you don't want dust. You don't want stuff from the room getting on the wax. So, you know, I saw this in England as well. So what are they looking at with wax? You know, predominantly they're looking at the color and the odor. Now, this is something that you might, you know, want some consultation on. You can see how light this is for whatever reason. You know, you see all these different colors of wax here, right? You know, this light canary yellow wax is what is what's going to win in the United Kingdom. I know when I was in Florida, Jennifer said that they just don't produce wax of that color. So there's darker wax. So I think color is something, that might be regionally determined. That's something you just might want to think about. Odor, it should smell, if you rub a block, beeswax block with a linen cloth, you should get a nice odor from it. It should be clean. Again, you don't want specks. It's very easy to get specks of dirt or propolis. It should be uniform in appearance, and it should not crack. And I don't know if Jennifer talked about cracking or not. I don't know if this will be a very, very different experience for you in the Caribbean because it's warm there. But if I'm making a wax block and it's cold, there's all sorts of tricks about letting it cool in a cooler, putting it in a hot oven. There's a lot of tricks to getting it to cool at a consistent temperature instead of going from hot to cold. Because when it goes from hot to cold, that's where you risk cracks. Another one of my favorite tips is, I learned this from Michael Young, and he said he makes his wax in the middle of the night. Why would he make his wax in the middle of the night? And he says, well, I don't want the rustle of a lorry running by. So I didn't even know what a lorry was. Every car, every truck, every train that goes by in front of a house makes a rumble. When you are in a highly competitive shows, these are the things that keep you up at night. Was it quiet and calm when your wax was cooling so that there are not jiggles and cracks? Again, I'm just trying to give you a really broad overview of what you might aspire to. Okay, I think I'm going to have to send this to Richard or put it in the chat. There's actually very little written on honey shows. This world is ripe for a brand new book about honey shows. This is an old book. It's more like a pamphlet. It's definitely based in the American system, but there's still a lot of good tips in this book. And it's available from Wicwas Press or Amazon or Barnes and Noble. So this is a link to it. Another book, which is kind of like, not really like a hardcover book, but like a pamphlet. And I'm sorry, I should have had these so I could have held them up, but I forgot. This man, James Thompson from Ohio, he still has them. He has them for sale, if you write to him. These are both in the American system, so there's going to be an awful lot in there about quantitative scoring. You can ignore that if you're not going to use it, but the key concepts of how to produce the entries are the same, absolutely the same.
Okay, Karla, we have a couple of questions.
Okay.
But people have their hands up, so I don't know if you want me to allow them to speak.
Yeah, that's fine. We're good on time.
All right, I'll start off with I'll start off with Andy Jagger. If Andy, you could unmute your mic. Okay, Andy, maybe. Oh, he did say he's having some problems with his hands up. So okay. Let's try. I know I created this link for the beekeepers in Trinidad. TT Beekeepers, Richard Matthias, TT Beekeepers. I know that's not me, but if you want to unmute and ask your question, I created that link for beekeepers in Trinidad. Nope. Okay, no one wants to speak.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Marlon Crow. I'll try Marlon Crow. Marlon, you want to unmute your mic? Marlon Clark, unmute your mic and ask your question, please, sir. Go for it. No. Okay.
Everyone got shy.
Seems so. Okay, let's try Lorraine. Let's try Lorraine. Lorraine just came up, put her hand up. I said, Lorraine, go ahead. Unmute your mic and speak. There you go, Lorraine. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Lorraine.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning to you too.
I had lots of difficulties with the computer, with internet, and so I missed a whole chunk. But I might be asking a question that's not even relevant. But is this? I see we are looking at shows in producing beeswax and going in for presentations. Are
Correct.
we gonna have are we preparing for a presentation in the Caribbean?
Yes, we are, madam.
Fantastic.
December, St. Lucia.
December in St. Lucia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
We
great.
hope to be there.
Welcome.
All right, where you calling? Where you?
I'm in Nevis.
In Nevis, wonderful.
Yes.
Next door.
Yes. So I'm so glad to see that something is coming there. The
Definitely.
Nevis Bee Association seems to be kind of dormant, and I'm hoping to get us back on track.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with Ilis at the Jeff SGP office? Is it Ilis? I think it's Ilis. Yeah, Ilis is in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, I'm stumped.
You're in St. Kitts, right? St.
I'm
Kitts
in
and Nevis.
Nevis, right?
Yes. Okay. So we have a regional beekeeping project funded
Okay.
by Jeff SGP UNDP.
I am new to this, so I'm trying to get all the information I can. I had
Sure.
sent you messages, but
You have? Okay.
yes, on WhatsApp
On WhatsApp? On
about a
WhatsApp?
month ago. And
What's up? I like that.
Resend to me.
Okay, will do,
Re-engage
will
me,
do.
And I can probably try and definitely have a longer conversation, or just call me. Just call me via
Yes,
WhatsApp.
okay.
Got my
I
number,
tried all of that, but
717
things were right. This
All
is
right.
good.
Okay,
So
cool.
in December,
Yes, ma'am.
good. So let's see how we could get St. Kitts and Nevis in that.
Give my regards to Mr. Merchant.
Okay, I know Mr. Merchant.
Right, yes. Give my regards. Tell him I say hello.
Okay, will do.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Actually,
Yes.
Deslin Richards is the one who gave me your name.
Okay, cool. Yes,
Yeah.
Leslie. Yes.
Okay, good. So we go hook up. Okay, let me not take the show.
Take care, man. God
Okay,
bless.
take care, right here.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we got Glenroy Blackman. He probably wants to say something. Okay, Glenroy, go ahead. Unmute your mic, please, Glenroy. Unmute your mic, Glenroy. Unmute. Yes.
Hi, morning. No, my hand missing touch that. I'm at work, so just trying to tune in.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
Cool, man.
no problem. All right. Enjoy. One last one, Roger. Let's try Roger. Roger, unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Hi, hello, good morning.
Yes.
And thank you. One question. You spoke about wax and you said mostly the lighter the wax, the better. Does that mean that you only could collect those wax for competition-wise at a certain time of the year? Because I mean, bees forage on certain type of plant. Well, especially in the Caribbean, they forage on all different kind of plants. We don't have this specialized one type of honey or one type of wax. It's a mixture. So I know certain time of the year, you will get certain color of wax.
Yeah.
Right? So that is what I was trying to get at. Does it mean that you will have to collect that wax for the competition, if you were to enter a competition at a specific time?
Well, let me try to respond to that. In this country, and also I think also in England, the wax that is used predominantly is the wax from the honey frames, those wax cappings, because that is usually your cleanest. I think that this is a discussion you need to have among yourselves, knowing your own flora. I was very surprised to hear in Florida about how their wax is not as light. I personally, I love dark wax. I've never fully understood this requirement. And I think you're going to need to figure that out. And Richard and his associates make a decision on color for your own show. That makes sense.
Okay.
So I hope
Appreciate that very
helps.
much.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot, Roger, for your question.
You're very much welcome. Thank you.
All right, mate. Enjoy the session and stay tuned, man.
Yes.
Okay, Lauren, does Lauren have another question, or she's done? We've got a question here from. We have a response here from Stephanie Slater. I wrote to James Thompson's a couple of years ago, and he very kindly sent me his book. It is an excellent and well worth the low cost. So that was from Stephanie Slater. I think she's in the United States. Yes.
He's a love, but he is not a young man, so.
Okay. All right. Let's continue. We've digressed a little bit. Sorry. My apologies.
That's fine. No, I think it gives me a break. You know, I'll send this list to Richard. These are the only books that I'm aware of that are specific for honey shows. You know, we hope and pray that Michael Young writes his book, but he keeps saying he's doing it, so maybe he will. But again, even these two top books that are based in the American system will be useful to you. The National Honey Show has a series of brochures. And there's some really wonderful presentations on the website that I showed you earlier. Okay, I think I'm almost done. This is a little bit about the honey show. Jennifer sent this sample schedule to Richard. You know, this is just more about the honey show itself. You know, and every honey show will have a schedule. You will see what classes and when entries are taken and the date. This doesn't have the location, but it should. For EAS, we never make a honey show schedule quite like that. We make this big display. This is it's just another example I wanted to show you where we have the rules right here that people can come pick up, and we have this big display and we honor the sponsors. I was just threw this out just to give you a couple of ideas of ways that you can do it. You know, in our system, the show schedule is really included in the rules. I happen to really like a separate show schedule because you just know right on one piece of paper, you know, the time, the location, the people, etc. Again, this is about honey shows, and Richard, I will send you this offline. All of us doing this work pretty much have all of this information in our head. Okay, it's all up here, and very little of it is written down. And something that Jennifer and I are working on together, along with a few key people, is to develop procedural guidelines for the Eastern Apicultural Society show. And these are, I see my numbering got all messed up here. Well, no worry. You can see these are all the things you want to think about: your timeline, you know, your logistics, your rooms, your rules. There's a lot. It's a lot to think about. And even though we don't have these procedures written down, just knowing the topics, I think, will be helpful to you. And a year from now, we really hope to have this written down for EAS. That's the Eastern Apicultural Society. And I think a lot of people will benefit from it, because my guess is anybody you talk to who's running a honey show knows this stuff, but it's not written down. And I think my last slide is, you know, I just borrowed this from the folks in Maryland, just a general timeline. That's something, Richard, for you to think about, you know, to think about what you need to have done by when. So December's not that far off. I think you told me you already have a room, so that's good. So that's a check mark there. So these are documents. I'll send these to you just so you have them.
We have two potential locations. I will do it in Capital Castries, or we'll do it in the south of the island somewhere.
Great.
But we'll have a very interesting location. Any questions and answers? I see Lauren has a hand up again. Lauren, you could ask your question, unmute your mic and ask your question if you have a second question, or if your hand stayed up in error, not a problem. Lauren Archibald. Lauren, come in. Question, Lauren? No. Okay. No props. Does anybody have any closing comments? Anybody have any closing comments?
I hope it's been helpful. I really felt nervous following Jennifer yesterday.
Jennifer is a superstar, man. She went on for like what? We started at 10, and I think we concluded at 2:30. Yeah, 2:30. So she's a superstar, man. She went right through.
Yeah.
But you are doing a great job. As Emily Gannon says, don't worry with Richard, you are doing a great job.
Well, I hope it's been helpful. And if nothing else, you have that website to go back to. I'll put that in the chat when I get offline here.
Okay, we got Mark Remy from St. Lucia. He has a quick question, it's a quick statement. Compliments to the organizers of the Honey Show workshop. Special thanks to presenters. Farmers with disability, beekeepers are looking forward to participate in the show. Due to COVID-19, we slowed down a bit. Any material available to us will be greatly appreciated. Yes, Mark Remy, thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. We will definitely be sending you some emails, and I have some good news for you. You'll be getting an early Christmas gift through our regional project that I will allow Mr. Romulus to fill you in on. I will not steal his thunder, so look out for a call from Mr. Romulus in the coming weeks because he has a nice surprise for you. Compliments of the regional project we are just about to undertake. Leslie Ann says, I missed yesterday. Would there be a recording available? Yes, Leslie Ann. We have everything's on YouTube, on our YouTube and Facebook channels. You can get our Facebook page. Well, the current presentation, I'm going to drop the link in now. So once you get to that link, you can find yesterday's link there also. And just subscribe to the chat, subscribe to the Facebook page, and you'll get regular updates. And you can go to our website, ironolaapiculture.org, for further information. Leslie Ann McIntosh writes, thank you for the knowledge and the presentation. Thank you, Leslie Ann. Who else? Nobody else for now. We're waiting for a second presenter. Where is Mr. Gladstone Solomon? Where is he? He's late. Let me call him and find out where he is. Give me a second, folks. Let me call Mr. Gladstone Solomon and see where he's at. Okay, guys, Gladstone's coming. Whilst we, there's a few chats there. Richard, good day. For those of us who do not know about why we're able to stay for the whole session, please send a link. Yeah, Melanie, here's a link to the Facebook page. You can grab it on the Facebook. She says, great presentation, lots to learn and digest. So thank you, Melanie. Melanie's from St. Lucia. Juliana, please add me to the newsletter, Mr. Matthias. Okay, I shall add you to the newsletter. Risha, I think I'm on the mailing list for newsletters and notifications. Please check. If not, add. Yes, you are. Okay, I shall do that. Any more questions? Any more questions? No more questions? Okay, Dean, I'll have to get back to you. All right. We are waiting for Mr. Solomon. We are waiting, Mr. Solomon. So Karla, any more comments, any more tips and tricks?
Oh my gosh. You know, don't wait to the last minute. Yeah, I'm guilty of this. You know, you can't make a wax block the night before the honey show. And it's hard because, you know, I mean, I don't know what your season is like, what December is like, but, you know, it's hard sometimes to take the time to practice. You know, you should practice filling your jars or practice. So, you know, beekeeping is it's a good test of patience. So preparing for a honey show is also a very good test of patience. What else can I say? I don't know. I guess I can say that beekeeping has brought me to places I never imagined and participating in honey shows as well. So you just never know what you're going to meet, who you're going to meet, or the friends you're going to make by participating. And it's really, the Caribbean beekeepers in general is just really exciting to see. And it's thrilling to think that you'll have possibly an international honey show.
There you go. All things being equal.
Yeah.
All right, where is Mr. Solomon? I don't see him.
Where is he?
I just spoke to him and he's using the wrong link.
Oh.
I'm gonna try and send him a link now. All right, so I'm sending him a link. Let me just call him back and tell him I just sent the link, because he should have just been able to use the same link he used yesterday. Let me call him back. Excuse me 1 second, folks.
So I don't know if you can hear me, Lorraine. No, I think not. Oh, here, type answer. Richard, I don't know if you can hear me. What happened to my sound?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Karla.
Yeah, some people were asking questions, so I just started typing in answers.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, Karla. All right, Gladstone is here.
Oh, well, Gladstone, you missed my photos, but I put them in for you.
No, he was there, but he was not logged in as himself. But anyway, he's there now. All right.
Can you hear me now?
We're good. Okay. So Solo, let me hold on. Yeah, so you should be able to just click on share screen and fire up your presentation.
I just know.
Or if anything, I can run the presentation for you.
Share screen, right? Share screen is on green.
Yeah.
And
I have your presentation open already.
You have it open?
Okay, Solomon is sharing screen. Hey, there we go.
Good.
All right, so you can press start your presentation. We're ready to rock and roll, mate.
All right, hearing me okay? I'm on?
Yeah, we're hearing you okay. So, okay, so let me just introduce you. This is the one and only Gladstone Solomon. I think I can safely say he's the Muhammad Ali of beekeeping in the Caribbean, or the godfather of beekeeping in the Caribbean. Past chairman of the Association of Caribbean Beekeepers, past president of the Trinidad Tobago Apicultural Society. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Mr. Solomon to share his presentation on Trinidad and Tobago's participation in a National Honey Show London, and it's quite an adventure. And he says there's some surprises in there for me. So
hey, yeah, man, it's great to be on. Special right. To you, Karla. Thanks for setting the stage, breaking the ice. Jennifer did yesterday. To all the Caribbean listeners, viewers, it's a pleasure to share some time with you, some moments with you. All right, so we have been in the show for some time, and I'm going to just run through a couple slides here. Just a little background about the National Honey Show. It's considered the UK's premium honey show. International classes, quite a bit. They have a lecture, convention, and workshop. It's held every year at the end of October, so you can, set your calendar by that. Somewhere in the London area. The show goes back to 1923. The latest schedule I have, which is the 2019 schedule, indicates that there were 346 classes. It's quite a lot. Last year's show, well, with COVID and so on, was a virtual event, and it still attracted about 4,500 pre-registered persons. And this year's show, well, it's too early to say what it would be, virtual or what, but it started again for October, and this would be the 90th staging of the show. And that's by way of background. One more slide to give you a little more depth in it. Their mission is simply to encourage and promote beekeeping by showcasing honey and related products through the medium of national and international competitive classes. And we'll see as we go through the growth and expansion of the show. All right, so my own advent into the show, I'm showing up a picture of, I can call him my UK beekeeping mentor. He's a Mr. Michael Duggan from Red Hill, Surrey. And this is the gentleman who I'm crediting with our participation in the show. He used to visit Tobago, at least he visited on 2 occasions before our first entry, collecting pollen and honey samples, which he would send to some university in Germany. He's an engineer by profession. And well, over the years, he's been, let's say, impressed with our honey, and he thought on his second visit that, he would, in his own way, select what he thought was the best honey and take it up to the show. So he did. He took honey from a gentleman by the name of Timothy Mentor. And guess what? That honey won a silver medal, second place In category 2, which, you know, as you'll appreciate later on, is one of the key competitive classes. And this is where my surprise for Richard comes in. So I'm just showing the guy, hey, I've got a stack of letters. In those days, for you modern folks with internet and WhatsApp, we used to write letters, and it used, look at the date of this letter, 18th of November, 1987. So it would take, you know, slow mail. So I'm just establishing his address and the date of the letter. And this is interesting. I highlighted it because I wanted Richard to be able to read this, you know, and I'm going to help you read it. As you probably learned, and that's from the same letter that I showed before. This is later down in the letter. This was written November the 18th, 1987. And on page 2, he's telling me, as you probably learned, I entered Timothy's Mentor Honey in class 2 at the National Honey Show. Also, some of J.D. Anthony's honey from St. Lucia. Richard,
oh, I know who, man. I know who. Donald Anthony, Donald, probably Donald Anthony, yes.
Right, so I was telling Richard yesterday that they had an entry in the Honey Show way back in 87. So
yes.
That's my bumpy, Richard. Please, please share the information with Anthony.
I shall.
Yes.
He might be logged on. Let me see. Let me see if he's actually logged on. He was logged on yesterday.
All right. Well, I hope he is. So again, I'm going back to, I'm establishing proof here. Another part of the letter, which was written weeks after the show in 87. So he's telling me that it won second place and the silver medal. You must enter next time. There is tremendous competition from many places, but at least we know Tobago's honey can compete with the world, Commonwealth. And he says the High Commission was over the moon. The High Commissioner, that should be, and came in person with his wife, and the honey was bought and put on show at our High Commission. You see the kind of attachment in the UK that our diplomats attach to such events. So that was our first entry in the Honey Show, and it won a silver medal in class 2. It was a big media event, you know. The wins award that
Gladstone, I think you've piqued the interest of Mr. Romulus. He's got his hand up. So let me initiate.
Right.
Mr. Romulus, please unmute your mic and let's say your comments.
No. Richard, that was a little earlier on. I'll comment later, please.
All right. So I established that Mr. Duggan in this note, he extended an invitation to me to participate, and I in turn extended it to beekeepers in both Trinidad and Tobago. And that basically is the background. So that we participated every year except 1993. I don't know what happened that year, can't recall. But from 1987 to the year 2000, we participated. And later on, I'll tell you what happened in 2000 that stopped us from participating. But I served as the national coordinator for the show in terms of organizing. And again, I'll elaborate on that later. But I want to share with you here this article, Beekeeping in Trinidad and Tobago. It's published in the National Honey Show schedule, you know, a document that looks like this. So it's published in there. I actually have the original one. I don't want Richard doubting me, see, so I'm showing him everything. And there's an interesting paragraph or highlight in it that I'm going to, you know, establish in the background. Just read through quickly. So the article says readers may notice the 35 entries in class 2 last year from Trinidad and Tobago, many in rather unusually shaped jars. The exhibitors had many problems. What honey should they select? For locally, the most popular honey is dark and must cut our throats. We want to feel in the Caribbean. If you when you taste honey, if you don't feel a little thing in your throat, that ain't no real honey. To a European palate, the light, beautiful, flavored citrus or glory cedar honey is in a world-class, second to none. A difference of perception, perhaps. And so he says the main flow is from February to March with ambient temperatures in the low 80s, but the National Honey Show is late in October. And we're touching on some problems here. So how to prevent crystallization, which may hardly seem, let alone the effects of, which may have hardly seen, yet alone the effects of violent changes in pressure and temperature during a 4,000-mile flight, plane going up to 7,000 miles or something like that, touching down. The honey is going through some kind of shock treatment. He also figured out that the glass jars were produced locally. And these are from our entries. So you get in real life or documented experiences, but the manufacturers never worry about thermal frosting, irregular shape, or bubbles in the glass. Above all, the lack of filtering material he felt was a problem he experienced. Tight and fine muslin do not exist. This is what they used to strain up there. And he noted that one exhibitor used a finely weaved shirt to filter his honey, the extent that we go through. And yet at least 4 of those exhibits, notwithstanding those challenges, he found were perfect in clarity. Nevertheless, the enthusiasm was great. The challenge was accepted, and Trinidad and Tobago Beekeepers Association, we arranged some teachings and some displays. We held a national exhibition in San Fernando in March '89, and from there, the Better Honeys went to the honey show later that year. The honey competition right was sent to London. With experiences, this is conclusion, better equipment and official support, we may be surprised by the new challenges appearing in class 1 and class 2 from the 423 beekeepers in these beautiful islands. So early layout, and let's talk about some of the arrangements that we put in place. I'm showing this picture because on the left of the screen, you're seeing BWIA. Some of you folks may not be familiar with that, the good old BW, British West Indian Airways. Mr. Duggan was a sort of go-getter, so he pulled me into BWIA with him. And we went and had a chat with them and got them to agree to transport honey from Trinidad and Tobago, UK, free of cost, right? In exchange, they got a free advertisement in the schedule, and even at the conference venue, we had a big banner placed there. But that was not all. We further involved our High Commission because once the honey touched down in the UK, it had to be collected. And the High Commissioner's vehicle would drive in using the diplomatic channels, collect the honey, take it to the High Commission, where it would be stored in a warmish room. And we tried to do this at least 2 weeks before the show so that the shock effect of the transportation would be minimized and the honey would be sort of back to its normal self. We even, after several years, got the airlines to agree to offer a discounted fare for one person to go to the honey show itself. And usually we were able to arrange for that person to serve as a judge's steward, an assistant to the judge to witness the experience. So I'm going to show you one person who in fact served as a judge's steward, my good self, in '94.
Who's that guy? your twin brother?
Yeah, man, I can't remember this guy, but he looks familiar. Note class 2 there. So a lot of these entries, a fair amount of them would have been TNT entries. And the whole experience of being a steward you know, I could have identified so clearly with what Karla was saying and Jennifer the day before. This is high class competition. One here out of place, and that's the difference. One air bubble in your honey, and that's the difference between first and second. You know, so the underscoring of the meticulousness that's involved in showing cannot be underestimated. Winning honey shows is a career for several beekeepers in the UK. I mean, they have perfected the art. So for us to, you know, make the sort of breakthroughs that we did, I don't want to discredit our own efforts, but I'm going to say perhaps the quality of our honey, rather than our skill and depth in preparation, may have been the deciding factor. So the associations kicked in once BV agreed to provide a discounted fare. State support was slow in coming, but through the associations, both in Trinidad and Tobago, and you know, the next in line to make the trip, if they had family up there or they were able to otherwise arrange accommodation, then that would have assisted. And we usually, once we got them to the UK, tied in a technical visit. So you go to foundation making place, you go to the Central Science Laboratory, we tie on a little 2 or 3 day technical visit with it. And this transpired mainly through the 90s. So it was a learning exercise. Can underscore that the staff from the High Commission were particularly helpful. And Mr. Romulus, you probably could appreciate what I'm going to say. Not that the others can't, but my understanding is that there was keen rivalry among the Caribbean Diplomatic Corps in the UK, so that our High Commissioner got a little advantage in terms of the kind of successes that his countrymen were experiencing in the UK, you know, when they're having the little sessions. So that the High Commission and the staff were keen to participate. And let me slip into that the categories that are open to the world, the ones that we are able to enter, it's considered a gift class. So your honey becomes the property of the show. And that honey is sold at the end of the show. And there is a lineup, there is a booking, there is a rush by staff and others to get Caribbean honey. I checked the 1919 schedule, and honey in gift class is sold for £8 a jar, a 1 pound jar. Pretty good price. So over the years, we've had the collaboration with the show organizers was, I think, extremely great. They would have facilitated our participation, strategically so, sometimes with coercion, by inviting a High Commissioner to officiate either the opening or the closing ceremony. So between 87 and 2000, on 3 occasions, different High Commissioners were invited to the opening ceremony to declare the show open. Let's call their names. Ulrich Cross, I think, was the first in 1992. Then there was Commissioner Mr. Mervyn Assam, and there was Miss, I think her first name was Sheila, I could be wrong, De Asuna. Couldn't get the document to correct her name, spelling, pronunciation. And it's all recorded in the schedule. And I'm going to slip in that recently, I think 2017 or so, in an attempt to re-enter the show, we were able to arrange in inverted commas, because these are sort of strategic interventions for the then High Commissioner over London, who is from Tobago and who knows me as a beekeeper, and who I was able to persuade before he took up his appointment that when you get to the UK, I'm going to try and connect you, if I could, to the show people, because we want to be able to re-enter the show, and so on. And so he was very keen, and he, in fact, issued awards to show participants 2017, I believe, or 2018. Right, so I indicated that we entered the show, we stopped or weren't able to enter the show after the year 2000. By then, we were up to 76 cases at 12 bottles each, which was 72 bottles of honey would have been transported to the UK. And from it, as I mentioned, the show organizers would have generated some revenue from the sale of the honey. So after a while, the economic considerations perhaps played in. They saw us as being, keen competitors, adding some international perspective to the show, and so on. And so that collaboration between the show organizers, the High Commission, and the beekeepers grew stronger. However, the European Union regulations kicked in, and those regulations required all honeys to the EU from what they call third countries had to have a residue monitoring plan. You had to be able to verify that you had no heavy metals, that your honey wasn't contaminated. You had the facilities in place to guard against that. And if you weren't able to meet those requirements, your honeys could not enter the UK, at least in the volumes that we were sending. If you were taking maybe 2 bottles, 2 kilos for personal use, then that was okay. So in fact, I was in the UK in 2001. I got up there before, only to find out that the honey show people were informed the honey was about to leave Trinidad a bit late, that it couldn't come again because those regulations kicked in. So our participation in the show ended informally at that time. But over the 14-year period, we did quite well. I'm gonna just stick in one little aspect here about my own involvement. I mean, this is indicating that I'm a life member of the Honey Show. It was a gift. The entry fee or the membership fee was paid by Mr. Michael Duggan. So, and this was done in 1990. The cost then, if I live to 200 years, then I'll be a member of the Honey Show right through. The cost then was 24 pounds. So from the 2019 schedule, I'm just underscoring the price of membership of one only payment of 300 pounds. If you want to be a life member, that's what it would cost you. So Rich, maybe if you join now, 20 years down the road, this membership may be valued 3,000 pounds.
I wonder if it's transferable. Maybe you could put it in your will that you transfer your lifetime membership to the National Honey Show to me.
I don't think they would buy that. I don't think they would buy that, but would have been quite a lot. You see? And it entitles you to free membership, free entry, you have a badge to sort of walk into the gates every time. So let's look at some of the stuff that we actually won. And I have a chart here that I prepared, and it shows the years, the class, Trinidad and Tobago, and the awards, right? So the first year, of course, would be 1987. We entered class 2.
Gladstone, quick one for you. The participants are asking that you do your presentation in presentation mode so they can have enjoy the full scope of the graphics in the full scope of the screen. Is that workable for you?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not too sure how, so that I just go on PowerPoint?
Yeah, the bottom right hand corner, you'll see like a an easel kind of thing, like a start presentation.
All right. This is where I have to admit that I'm a sort of dinosaur when coming to these technologies.
Or you can go to view up on top. If you hit view and then reading view.
There you go.
All right. I think I need to go back to.
At the top of the screen, between review and help, there's a button that's marked view. Up, up, up. Bring the mouse up to your left.
I'm on mute. File, home, design, animate.
Go along, go along, go along.
Question
Penultimate one, view.
Sorry, I'm stumbling here.
After review, the word review, there is view.
All right, I think I need to go, if I go on the Zoom. Yeah, with this.
All right, Solo, just go as you are, my brother. Go as you are. Go as you are.
Just have been revealed, but no problem. Yeah.
Maybe I can remote control your computer from here. Let me see if I can remote control your computer. No.
That won't take me.
No. I'm gonna request remote control. Just let me take control of your computer and I'll do it for you. Look at your screen. Something came up?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So view.
Yeah, because I don't have.
Let me see if I'm any better. Well, if I can just get to the bottom of your screen, that would be ideal for me. Slideshow.
All right, you have control, so.
From current slide. There you go.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's what the people want.
Yeah, man, right? We gotta give the people what the people want, you know.
All right, so I'm gonna return. I'm gonna give you back control of your computer.
All right.
So it was now.
All right. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks a lot.
No problem, sir.
We see in the class, and I'm going to point out that for the years, and I got, you know, all these are schedules for the various on the show going back to 89 or 88 or something like that. In those years, there was just, as far as international participation, the number of classes were quite reduced. So the applicable class for us in the Caribbean was class 2. And that went, I think, yeah, somewhere around 94, 95, when they introduced another class, 1A, so we'll be able to, you know, just in one instance, I can perhaps read out what is the requirement of a class. So yeah, I'll find it here. Cool. Yeah, this is a good one. So this is the 1989 schedule. And you know, you perhaps just seen the limited number right to the top there for international. So the class 2 is a class open to the British Commonwealth and the Republic of Ireland. There's no entry fee, meaning it's a gift class. So that class comprised 3 jars of honey, any one color, or naturally crystallized. Rule 7 doesn't apply. Rule 7 requires that it be in a special class. And the first prize is the Hender Cup and a silver medal and 15 pounds. The second prize was a silver medal and 10 pounds. The third prize, a bronze medal and 7 pounds. Right? The top notch class back then, and I think still is now, is a class open to the world. I'll give you insight into this. It's 24 jars of honey. The exhibit may consist of honey of 1, 2, 3, or 4 kinds. all exhibits will be staged by the committee or the steward. And the first prize is the Hemlin Cup and so on, right? But that's the big class, the big boy real heavyweight class, 24 jars of honey comprising an entry. As the years moved by by the mid-90s, they added 1A, and we were able to do well on that. So let's talk about the awards, and I have them classified by island. So you see, we won this is Tobago, the silver in 87. 8C is high commendation. C is commendation, and like a V8C is a very high commendation. So you have, let's say, the classical gold, silver, and bronze, and then the fourth place would be very high commendation, fifth, and a commendation 6. So that explains, I think I have it in the bottom here, right? That explains the chart. So you note that we perhaps, ironically, maybe started to do not as well in class 2, or perhaps do better in these new classes. I think quite frankly, the competition was slightly less in the 1A and the 3A. You know, everybody goes for class 2 because of the 3 jars and its openness. So this is the breakdown. What stands out, and this is Trinidad. In 1999, we won the Henda Cup and a silver medal. This is first prize. This Henda Cup is a much sought after. What happened? I need to go back a bit. Wow.
Just press, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, very prestigious Henda Cup. A nice bit of anecdotal information. 1999 was the first time that somebody from outside the region won this cup. And they in fact allow you to keep the cup until the next year, the next show. It's insured and all of that. So the cup was won by Trinidad that had to come to the Caribbean. And it created a big hoorah. We can't send the cup out. Eventually, they had to insure the cup, allow the High Commission to keep responsibility for it. Right, and my fellow presenter would have done just as well. So let's go to 2000 and note what happened. We won the cup again, Trinidad. The name of the beekeeper who won it, his name is Hinkson. Kirk Hinkson, I think, was the beekeeper, but I think the entry was in his wife's name. So there's some little delicate something, and I apologize in advance if I have it wrong, but you know, I could fine-tuned. But look what happened in 2000. Not only did we win the Henda Cup, we literally swept class 2. All we didn't win was the bronze medal, right? We came first. No, I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, once you win the Henda Cup, you get a silver medal. So we didn't get second or the third, but we got the very high commendation. We got 4 out of the 6 awards. This is Trinidad, and Tobago got the bronze medal. So we literally swept the awards, barring the silver medal. And just in summary, when we look at the numbers, we won a total of 58 awards in a 13-year period. Little Tobago, you know, we have our little Trinidad and Tobago rivalry, friendly rivalry. Keeps the competition keen. I mean, we outdid them. But here, of course.
But Tobago's never won the cup, man. So, you know,
we're gonna get back there. You had to bring that up.
Never won the cup.
We never.
Trinidad won the cup twice. They got the big prize twice.
They got it twice. And the plan was to win it again in 2001.
Yes.
Yeah, the EU regulations kicked in.
Yes.
They win a Challenge Cup 3 years straight. then convenience, the cup is yours.
Right, so, right. So they did it on purpose, man. That was a plot.
I'm not saying that. But maybe the gods in the European Union conspired, they anticipated our success. So yeah, I mean, we were all, as Obama says, fired up and ready to go with this honey show, you know. And
right.
It was keen, as you see from the accelerated, that's the end here. But I myself made my own contribution to awards, you know. I take a little thing here. Note, in what year was this, boy? Oh, sorry. Yeah, in 2000, so I won that bronze medal in 2000, and class 2, this is the class 2. And I won a high commendation. I'm not seeing the, it's somewhere in the back here.
91.
Right, 91, right? I'm going to talk about this just now. And in 97, right? So we have quite a couple persons on the island who would have won awards and who would have understood the requirements of entering the show. So we see this picture propping up. And these honeys, I said, we are keepers, we know the ins and outs of the industries. I'm not going to butter these up. These jars have not been opened for over 2 decades. Stuff going on 3 decades. That star, when you see it on your bottle, you know, that's a ribbon, that's your award.
Good.
We've seen a little remnant here of the entry. I guess it was somewhere down here.
Right.
And it migrated.
Okay.
So, hey, these things are, it's just on a shelf. I don't touch it, you know, it's just there. I just picked it up. And if you want to know what would happen to honey after, it's a dark area, it's just out in the open, no special protection. What I think is noticeable, maybe it has happened, but you're not seeing signs of granulation, crystallization. I've had others and you would have seen creeping crystallization. These, and I believe these were honeys, but they have not crystallized. So forgive the messy look, but as I said, you know, I'm showing a bit of the good and the bad. And this was a collection of the range of honeys in Trinidad and Tobago that I put together. I went to a party in the UK. So I asked beekeepers from throughout the 2 islands, you know, to send me samples. And this was the lightest, I think it's the Residia.
Right, yeah, Gloricida.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure, Mora plus, no, I won't tell you, we make wine from it. So I thought I'll cover up that last picture with this, you know. We had a honey tasting table up there, and we had people taste the honey and comment on it. Great. So I'm sort of just there in terms of my presentation. There's time for questions, but let me just throw in. I made some notes here that I want to table. Richard, in terms of the December show, and for those who are interested, my advice to you is to start to select your honey from now. Don't wait till May, because the best honey may have gone. You're going to be into the dry season. April is probably our driest month. Moisture content would be lowest. And let me underscore Karla's point and Richard's point about moisture content. To do well, our honeys that would have done well were usually in this 17 and a half. I'm not too sure. I think maybe in one instance, we dipped below that. Hey, you've got to bear with me. I must revisit a slide here and identify the person who won the silver medal. This was Timothy Mentor. And we had a female woman beekeeper, Margaret Keynes Dumas, Hope she's listening. Silver here. She won silver here.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah. So Margaret, I'm giving you a big, yeah, didn't forget I was trying to get a picture from her. So I'm just underscoring some points from observations as a judge's steward. I endorse, what is said, the judges don't use instruments, this is refractometer. They don't use it on the show. You put a drop of honey here and look through and it would tell you, it would tell you the content if you pull it against the light. They use the rods. As the judges steward, you are not allowed to advise the judges, of course, see anything. You just to assist them. Take the honey from the entrance at the entry point, stage it on the stand. If the judges need your support in opening a bottle, he or she would open it. And it's also a training opportunity so the judges think aloud deliberately so that you as the steward would understand, the processes that they're going through. And we've had maybe 10 or 12 beekeepers in Trinidad and Tobago who've had the benefit of that exposure. But I'm going to throw the issue, the general question of whether a good light honey or a good dark honey is better. Interesting discussion. We've had some challenges, and what we did, not when I say we, this was encouraged by Michael Duggan, who had a very broad international scope. He would travel all over the world. Judges for a local honey may be generally more familiar with honey from that locality. So that if this honey comes in and the flavor is not appealing to them, it's new to them. There is a measure, and this is my observation from there's a measure of informed subjectivity beyond the objective factors like cleanliness and viscosity and so on. Once it comes to aroma and taste, it's the judge's call. For some reason, a judge may like the flavor of this honey. Another judge may prefer the flavor of this one. But I often ask myself, if in a judge's mind, both are equal in every respect, except the color, which one would usually get the nod? And from asking the questions, I think the lighter one tends to get the nod. I'm not sure, what's behind it, but it's perhaps just a fact of life. So I thought I'll throw that out. And I think that's it.
Okay, Gladstone, great presentation, man. I love the history, man. I love the history. Definitely you're one of the Caribbean's true ambassadors of apiculture. And I think you helped Trinidad go to places that they wouldn't have necessarily got without your personal investment of time, blood, sweat, and tears. So, I mean, the contribution to apiculture in Trinidad and Tobago, is probably second to none. And I think, that's one of the reasons why I thought that we're talking about honey shows.
Yeah.
It was important that we embraced two of the Caribbean's best, Gladstone Solomon and Dr. Valma Jessamy, although we have not been able to raise Dr. Jessamy yet, so your head may still be on the block.
Let me add something. Let me, because we have been, there have been efforts in the recent past, maybe 3 or 4 years, to get back in the show, and it was remiss of me not to include that. So I mentioned that our new High Commissioner, because he was from Tobago and sort of knew him, was able to brief him and put him in connection with the show. And we tried to work out some modality, quite honestly, and this has been very open to get around the EU regulations, The show people were very keen on having us back, and we've enjoyed the benefit of being there. The publicity, you know, people say, I hear you win the best honey in the world. Well, of course, you know, no, that's not bad advertisement. It may not be totally factual. So there were discussions and approaches were made to our Minister of Foreign Affairs. This was in the last couple of years to see whether anything was possible via diplomatic channels in terms of getting our honey up there. And we got a nicely worded letter back from the Minister of Foreign Affairs after investigations, saying that they had to be very strict in, you know, observing protocols. So as much as they, you know, saw merit in the idea, there was no way that they could have participated. But we've had, and I'm sure Debbie wouldn't mind me calling her name, and Corky the Gans, and Debbie's brother, his name lose me, newish but keen beekeepers. They actually made their way to London, took their honey up and entered the show. This is in the last 2-3 years, and I understand that others would have done that. So you can take honey into the UK, and I have a letter from the High Commissioner telling us their custom requirements. I think it's up to 2 kilos for personal use. You're required to declare it, of course. Maybe if you have 2.5 bottles, the guy may let you through. So we had persons who took their honey, entered the show. The thing with doing that, though, is the trauma that the honey experiences. As both Karla and Jennifer, your honey has to be settled, so you can't reach up the day before the show, and if the honey got a good shaken up by the baggage handlers or whatever, and it needs some time to settle, you may be disadvantaged, but I know others would have transcended that. I think the next speaker would tell her own story about that. So yeah, it's a keen show. If there's any way, as Karla said it, you gotta be in it to feel it, to know it. So I urge all our listeners, especially those from the Caribbean, to select your best honeys from now. Start to observe when you're harvesting, put it aside, don't spin it in your extractor, crush it, let it drip out. Keep the aroma. The aroma is a big part. When the judges crack that cover, if they get a good whiff and something hits them, hey, you know, you have a good chance. All right, that's it, Rich. That's
all right, Gladstone. Shucks, I had a question for you. It escapes me at this point, but I've got a few people with their hands up. Jashaka Andrew, if you just unmute your mic, sorry for the pronunciation of your name if I got it wrong. Jashaka Andrew, if you unmute your mic, you can ask your question. Go ahead, please.
Hi, sorry about that. I didn't have any questions yet.
Okay, cool, no problem. All right, that's not a problem. These things happen. Let's see, I've got some questions in the chat. Wow, there's a lot of questions in the chat. Let's start. Okay, let's start with Michael Fontenelle. Michael, unmute your mic and ask your question, sir.
Richard, I wanted to ask about 2 things.
Go ahead.
With me. One, that very dark honey in the display that Solomon showed. I wanted to know what's behind that. Is what trees in particular, what plants would give you that dark?
I can help you. Jamu, I think it's Jamu. It just came back to me.
Okay.
You know, that tree going up on the
is that something that's unique to your particular location? I mean,
no,
because my reading has
suggested,
my reading has suggested that some other parts of the world are marketing their unique qualities, like New Zealand and so forth, and getting quite a price for their quality of honey.
Oh, Manuka.
Right.
I don't know, my screen.
And I mean, it just struck me as very interesting. That's the first part. The second thing I wanted to ask was regards to the protocols that you say frustrated your efforts to participate in 2000. Heavy metals. This sounds to me like health and safety issues. If heavy metals and things like that, I just wondered what can be done at our level to ensure that we are meeting those standards.
Well, it's a general regulation that's applicable throughout the European Union to all imports from what they call third countries. So
no, I know that you keep saying it's a European standard, but when you explained it and you said that it was with regards to the presence of heavy metals and stuff like that.
Michael, let me help.
Something of interest.
Michael, let me help Gladstone a little bit in that answer. What Gladstone is referring to is that the European Union instituted a requirement of all third-party countries to have in place what is called a residual monitoring plan, which is a government-to-government agreement. So there's a strategy that is put in place between the European Union and the government of St. Lucia or the government of Trinidad and so forth. What happened is that most of our Caribbean islands, except for Jamaica and I think Jamaica and Cuba, missed the boat on putting in place a residual monitoring plan. So by virtue of this, most of our islands are now barred from direct commercial importing of honey to the European Union. However, this being said, now that Brexit has occurred and the UK is no longer a part of the European Union.
Well, Richard, for me and you, the European Union is next door, eh?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The European, Martinique, yes.
Yes.
In that regards, and that's one of the reasons why we are no longer able to. Previously, a lot of our honey from St. Lucia went to Martinique, and that's no longer the case because it's barred from entering the country due to the same protocols.
That was why I was concerned, because it's next door.
Yes, but I'm more concerned. Well, from the objective of entering your honey into the competition easily, in the UK, that hopefully that barrier may have disappeared, or the rules and regulations will become less stringent. So I mean, let's see how the next how things pan out with that regards, and so forth. So, but I think that hopefully should answer your question, Michael. But I need to give you a call a little later on today, Michael, because I have
a
project I'm working on. I need your input as to location. Remember that same project a few months, 2 years ago?
Well, will you call me?
Community?
You'll call me?
I'll call you. Good. Yeah. All right, my brother. Okay, so let's move on. There's some other persons that want to make a contribution in the group. So we've dealt with Michael, Risa. Yeah, Risa, good for Risa. I think Michael may have touched on that, but I'll still bring Risa back up online because she always has a valuable contribution to make. Risa, if you want to unmute and make a contribution, please.
Which question are you referring to?
Well, you've got so many. Risa. So
you caught me in the hat. Question as well.
Pick one in the hat and ask the questions.
Yes, I was curious about the variation in color. What would cause the light color as well as the dark color, if Gladstone remembers, the nectar sources?
Yeah, it's it's a sort of standard application. The general characteristics of the honey is transferred from the flower and the nectar, so that these are broad brush perspectives. A lighter color honey is usually from a flower that has light color and the nectar is light. So if you know the jamu fruit, if you're based in Trini, going up on the highway opposite Trin City, where there are some tall trees, there are a lot of jamun trees there. If you're in Tobago and parts of Trinidad, there's a fair amount of where we see there. And also the wax itself, to some extent, if it's virgin wax, compared to old wax, there could be some slight transfer of colors, but taste, viscosity, general characteristics. And because we have such a wide multifloral mix, some people may be able to tell you that this may have a variety has a little more moro in it or something like that. Some tastes are much more distinctive than others.
And
yeah.
Oops. What happened there?
For those who know Fiddlewood, which flowers at the onset of the rain season, but it's Richard made the point, has a very high moisture content. But to me, I think there may be some medicinal value because the bush has traditionally, it's a deep tradition, been used to cure the worst colds, you know. So maybe there is something inside there with some extraction, but what we lacking in severely is, you know, this sort of laboratory work, this sort of analysis. We may have our own version of the New Zealand Manuka honey and our
Correct.
own honeys here. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. I hope that answers your questions, Risha. You know, just to add on to what Gladstone said, that the laboratory work is something that is deeply lacking in the Caribbean. Unable to get some of the analysis, but to our credit, University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, the team there, Mr. Dr. Azad.
Mohammed, yeah, Azad Mohammed, I think. Yeah.
Azad Mohammed and so forth are doing some great work. And, you know, we are working on a situation, you know, hopefully in the near future, there'll be that laboratory be able to examine honeys from the region, despite the regulations that there are concerning importation of honey. But I think there'll be some kind of a dispensation afforded to the university to allow them to, you know, build their reputation and their testing capacity, and also build a pollen profile for the entire Caribbean. Yep. So if it can't happen in Trinidad, well, it will happen somewhere else, but it will happen, as the people say. You know, so it's one of those things that we really need to focus on. One of the things that our industry, apiculture, although we've achieved much, we could achieve so much more if we were to embrace the science into our sector and really get the scientists involved to help us understand our products better, so that we could zoom in now in our husbandry and zoom in on what's our forage and what's happening out there. I mean, just for example, if I want to get a viral load analysis of the bees in St. Lucia, there is no way I can get that information. I would need to take my bees, set a portion in a vial, in some alcohol, and send it up to you know, freeze them and send them up to Florida or you know, one of these universities and get the analysis done. Where we have facilities, you know, we have to develop these facilities within our region to support us, to allow our industry to grow. Only way our industry can grow is from within. It can't grow from external sources. We need to have the technology, the scientists, the beekeepers, and all the things that go with that within our sector. And I think the development of a regional or national, the honey show, which we're trying to pull off, will help elevate the overall apiculture environment across the region. And I think that's what we aim to do through the assistance of JFSGP and other agencies, and to really make this an industry. So the science and the craft that need to mesh, and they need to develop simultaneously together. Sorry for talking for so long.
Well said, Richard. Well said. You know,
we have a contribution. We're still waiting for Dr. Jessim here, otherwise your head's gonna roll. So I'm not saying nothing. So Risha, does that answer your questions, or do you have any more to ask, Miss Allen?
So far I was just checking. Right. So well, I guess, yeah, that will probably cover my question on if this door was completely closed for this residual monitoring plan, and if we're only looking to send honey to the UK. Indeed, that's where the honey show is.
Yes.
But you know, there are other countries.
Yes.
Right. Are there restrictions to the US and Asia?
Yeah, There are similar restrictions to the US, but they're not as pronounced as the European Union. But America is a different kettle of fish. But I think it should not be as stringent as the European Union. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me. All right, but we still have to focus on our Caribbean Honey Show first, man. So let's focus on developing our own, and then once we've developed our own, we can look to branch out into these other things, man. You know, charity begins at home, and we need to promote ourselves, and then create our own vibe, our own feeling within the Caribbean, and then from developing our own Caribbean excellence, we can then, we should, one of the things maybe we could look at, and maybe Mr. Romulus, I know he's listening, that we can look at developing a system where, the entrants that win, we can try to use for a collective foreign offices, a collective, to help us or help beekeepers get their product into the honey shows around the world as required, so it's something, and it's a great marketing ploy, it's a great thing, so if we've got a honey from Trinidad that wins the Hender Cup, that's a great marketing ploy. There's a lot of people around the world who are into honey that will come and visit Gladstone and the gang in Trinidad to and taste the honey and see what's happening in Trinidad. Likewise, if St. Lucia, which we will win the Hender Cup soon. Look, Dr. Jessamine!
Hey. My neck is saved.
Hey, man. The hero is here, man. I'm going to stop talking now. All right, so Risa, I hope we've answered your questions. Dr. Jessamine has joined us. I know her time is, she charges by the minute, or by the second. So we're gonna allow her to not take up too much of her time. Dr. Jessamine, I'm not gonna introduce you. We think we've exhausted talking about you in your absence. All good things, nothing negative. All good things. You've saved Paul Gladstone's neck because he had it on the block. So,
he never lets me down.
But fantastic. So without further ado, let's let Dr. Jessamine just recount a little of her experience, introduce herself, and just talk about some of the successes that she has had at the London Honey Show. Dr. Jessamine, all yours. The floor is yours.
Good day. Good day, Matthias. Gladstone, good to see you. I'm sorry that I'm really busy. In fact, I lost track of time and had to run out from what I was doing to keep my word, to share a few minutes with you. So I see that you have 93 odd participants. So participants, good day. Where are your participants from, Brother Matthias?
All around the world, all around the world.
Oh, wow.
Gladstone, could you end your share screen, please?
All right. So
they're from all around the world.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of people from Trinidad, a lot of people from St. Lucia, some from Jamaica, from the Bahamas. I think we even have a couple of people from India.
Oh, wow.
So we have a very good complement of persons from around the world that are with us today.
Okay, so I do not know what you would have said before, but my bit is that a great honey starts all the way from your beekeeping practices. If you don't do what is right from the location of your apiary, from your husbandry, your beekeeping techniques, it all leads to getting a good product. So you can't have a consistently good honey if you're not consistently doing good beekeeping practices.
Yes.
There is sufficient evidence which shows that honey is influenced by the geographic and botanic factors. And so I have been able to, guided by what's already in the literature, compare honeys from different parts of Grenada, for instance. And so we know that honeys from the mountain region is different to honeys from the coastal region, etc. There are some honeys that would always have more moisture content than others.
Right.
Because of those natural factors of the type of plant, the botanic, or just the species, right? And environmental factors, time of year, etc. So you have to take all those things into consideration in deciding which honey you're going to, you want to show, okay? So if you have a profile for your honey, then you will decide for instance, the honey that I produce during the rainy season has different properties and different characteristics of the honey that I would extract in the dry season. And if I want to enter a category for maybe a dark honey, then I have to choose that honey from a certain location or a certain time of year, etc. So it starts with understanding the geographic, botanic. You may have a honey that is bitter.
Yes.
And it's not that it's not a good honey. There are people who actually want bitter honey. I have a bitter honey when I grow in a certain region, when I put hives in a certain region and extract certain times of year, then I know I can get that really choice, rare bitter.
You have a species of tree here that does that as well in St. Lucia.
Exactly. So you need to understand those factors. Also, there are times of year that there are things that the bees do, and you probably know more about that, where it would change the properties of the honey also, whether they're bringing in honeydew, etc. So that would change the sugars and whatnot in the honey. So you need to know a lot about the environment, the geographic, the botanic factors in selecting which honeys. If you want a very light honey, then you would have to do what is necessary. Put your hives in a certain location or whatever technique so you can get a light honey. So it really starts with proper beekeeping practices.
Yes.
Then once you get your honey and you extract it, how do you handle your honey supers when you take them out from the hive? That has a lot to do with how the honey goes from being a really great product in the hive to post-harvest. Some people extract in the field and put the frames right back. Most times when beekeepers do that, the honey is not yet fully sealed. And so the best honey should be honey that is fully ripened and sealed by the honeybees. Correct. So extracting in the field is difficult to extract sealed honey in the field, right? And that's going to cause some drop in the quality of the product also. But you want to always have sealed honey that's fully sealed and ripened by the bees, because it would prevent fermentation, etc., if your honey is ripe, okay? Post-harvest, there are people who boil their honey, who pasteurize, who heat. You should not be doing that, because that changes everything. It's no longer honey, it's a sweet product from the bees when you do that. Honey is naturally acidic, so you want to look at how you handle it and what containers you store the honey in, because the honey could react with the containers and that could change the color and of the chemistry of the honey also. The moisture content of honey should be less than 18%. If you have anything that is higher than that and you take it to show, you'd probably be disqualified before you could even enter. So you want to make sure that the honey has the right moisture content. And there are different categories. So you would enter categories based on the type of honey that you would have produced. One of the most difficult classes that I have entered and won several times is the clear class. And for the clear class, you want to make sure that your honey is well settled before you bottle, because you do not want to have any particles, because the honey would be put up against a very bright beam of light, and any particulate matter in there is going to be seen. So entering the clear class of honey is always challenging, and one of the most difficult to compete in. Competing in a class with dark honey or so, that's easy, or easier. But the real challenge, the Medal of Ukraine, which we've won many times, is for the clear class.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And so clear does not necessarily mean white or light, but of course, if it's light, it will more likely be clearer. Right? So we've had different grades of clear that we've entered. Of course, as I said, the thickness, the viscosity. If you handle the honey properly, then it would have a good bouquet, good flavors. If the honey is heated, you would lose that. You would lose all those flavors and the bouquet of the honey. Air bubbles, how you extract and handle your honey would cause air bubbles to sometimes get trapped in there, and that's a no-no. You do not want to have air bubbles in the honey. If the honey is not cleaned properly before you package it for sure, then when the judge opens the jar, they would find debris on the surface of the honey and on the inside of the cover. So it's important that you clean the honey properly before you package it. And of course, you must put it into a properly clean jar that is dry. Because if the jar is not properly dry, you've added moisture to the honey, and that would affect the quality of the honey. After you put your honey in the jar, it's advised not to open it until the judge opens it. Right? Because when the judge opens the jar, they tend to want to get that first aroma that comes out. And so, you know, if you leave the honey sealed after you've done all your preparation and cleaning and whatnot, and the judge opens, the first thing they want to get is that nice aroma. That is if your honey has one, because not all honeys. But if you handle the honey properly, more than likely it will have this really nice aroma when the bottle is opened. You always want to handle your jars with clean hands so that you do not leave any fingerprints or marks on there. The first year I entered, I participated in the show, we got a silver award. And I got some feedback, and I entered in more than one category. In one of the categories, feedback was given. My hands are very dirty. I've been in the soil. I had no time to clean up, so I came dirty out of the field and came right in. So there was a decision between the first and second place. And because my jar was smudged with like the honey print and whatnot on the outside, so I lost some points. So we got the silver award.
Okay.
And so, because sometimes it comes down to presentation. So presentation is important. I've seen honey presented in Listerine bottle and all sorts of different bottles from persons who were entering the show for the first time and did not know better. So you have to present it nicely. There are some jars that are used. For instance, the UK honey show used a different jar to the US honey show. I participated in one of the shows of the American Beekeeping Federation, and their standards are totally different to how honey shows are handled in the UK. So if you, based on where you're taking your honey to, the rules and standards would vary. So it's always good to just follow the rules of show, but it starts from the hive. It starts with a good product. and how you manage your honey, how you extract your honey, how you store the honey, and then your final packaging. It comes down to the panel of judges, so there could be some subjectivity in the whole in the judging process. There is some testing that is done, not very rigorous. 2019, AP Mondia decided to do more testing of honeys to look for sugars and whatnot on the chemistry of the honey. So if you want to go to the International Honey Show, then expect that you have to send the honey ahead, and they do very rigorous testing of the honey to look at sugars, to look for pesticides, to look for residues, and so in the product. Depending on where you go for show, I think in Turkey the last time the testing was done also. And then you have all the regulatory issues of getting your honey in. The process in Montreal was smoother. When we sent our honey to Turkey, it was delayed in customs for a long time before it was cleared. But those are some of the high points. I think it's not just what happens in the jar. You have to start thinking about good honey from production all the way through your harvesting, your post-handling, how you store the honey.
Yes.
Not to knock on any particular beekeeper, but I see beekeepers putting honey in used containers, especially the blue barrels, and those are not for food. So people should not be storing honey in some of these containers, because honey is a food item. And the thing about honey, it has hygroscopic properties.
Hygroscopic, yes.
So to take up water from the environment. So if your jar is not sealed properly, if you extract a very good honey, and by the time you're through, your honey would no longer have the properties of a really great tasting honey. The container you put the honey in could also degrade the value of the honey. So people should not be using these blue barrels and all of these containers that are not for food to store their honey.
Or you can maybe put a food grade bag liner. I know some of the UK
yes.
Put a plastic bag liner inside of it, and then they
buy the liner.
Bag liner.
Yes. Well, they're even I think Kelly Bees and so on, many of the other suppliers sell the bag liners, because some metal containers, depending on because as I said, honey is naturally acidic.
Yes.
So storing in metal could also affect the color.
Eat out the metal after a while, yes.
Right. So the liners are recommended if you want to use metal containers, but it's best that you use food grade. And somebody just put up, please visit the National Honey Show website for more information. And that is very true. They've got a lot of presentations and stuff that gives you guidance for preparing for show. So, but as I said, it all starts with the honey, because when I make a decision to go to a show, I do my own honey show first. And we do our little tasting. I may invite 1 or 2 persons to come and do my little honey tasting party with me, or I do it with my family. And we are usually like, yes, we got the right one this time, so because we would have entered and the results match the decision that we would have made at home. So, yeah,
that's great. I think we've got a few questions. I don't know if you have a few moments for a couple of questions, Dr. Jessamy and Gladstone. I think I've got some questions in the group. Stephen Howard's got his hand up. I hope he's still there. His hand is up for a long time. Stephen, could you go ahead with your question, please? Stephen Howard.
Well, the question is written. It says, how have entries in these competitions assisted in building an industry in Trinidad and Tobago and within the wider Caribbean?
Yeah, well, yes, I saw the question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Do you think as Caribbean beekeepers, we've been able to capitalize on the successes of persons within our region? I think Karla just said she's got to shoot. She's shooting off, but she says thanks and she'll look forward to hearing us. But swinging back to the question, I mean, I don't think we've capitalized on it fully. I know, Valma, you've done significant work and you're continuing your journey is always evolving and you're pushing the envelope all the time.
You see, I think it's always good to win an award.
Yes.
But the emphasis should be on production of a good product.
Yes.
Because there would always be a winner, right? The year that I do not enter a competition, someone else would win. Exactly. Okay? And or I may enter and I do not win. So competitions are good. Competition is important because it's about being your best, about quality, about a high standard. Yes. And so we cannot talk about the show and the award if we do not want to go back to the field, if we do not want to go back to the apiary and talk about good practices, no pesticides. For instance, there are beekeepers who are still using all sorts of treatments in their hives for veromite, for what have you. You cannot be doing pesticide treatments in your colony and expect that it wouldn't affect your honey and then want to take that honey to the market. So, exactly. So it all starts with quality and producing a good product before you start thinking, well, I want an award, right? It takes a lot of work to get to the award. And even if you did not get to the award, what are the things you need to do to have a good product? So for instance, we've been to the honey show and we had persons from New Zealand who entered in the same category as we did, and we won the award. So that felt really great because, you know, New Zealand is regarded for having one of the best honeys in the world. But why is New Zealand honey considered the best? It's not because of the awards, but it's because of the standard that the country has set.
Yes.
For their industry.
Correct.
It's because of all of the research and science that has gone into building a strong industry. So the persons who are the biggest honey producers and sellers in the world, they are not going to the awards. The award is more something that you may find pursued mainly by amateurs. Yes. I'm not saying that commercial beekeepers don't worry about awards, because there are categories for commercial beekeepers also. But you more than likely find that persons who have, once they cross a certain size and they have a market in an industry, they don't worry too much about the beekeeping awards. They more focus on quality
and production.
And maintaining that consistent quality. Mm-hmm. There are standards of production. So for instance, in New Zealand, they have developed the unique Manuka factor, UMF. I have done similar work and research and testing with our honeys, and we developed our phytomed factor, which PMF, which rates our honey based on the antibacterial and antimicrobial properties of the honey and the medicinal properties of the honey. So we have developed something that we can probably look at how we can make it a Caribbean standard, where we talk about the phytomed factor. So the more properties your honey have, the more medicinal properties, the more benefits. That's really what I think we should be looking for as a Caribbean industry, to focus on quality. The yes. Awards are great. The awards are great. But I think if we can follow on the New Zealand model to look at quality, we know that the habitat, the wild plants, the native food source that we are dependent on as beekeepers is under threat. It's under threat from Of course, we have the existential threat of climate change, but from development pressures, most beekeepers are not planting trees. In New Zealand, people create farms of the manuka tree for their bees, and they get a secondary product, the manuka oil. So beekeeping is not by chance. The person has, 50 acres of land that is farmed for the bees and for the byproducts from the trees. Exactly. And so business is an industry. Yes. Here we are just waiting to go out in the wild, in the bushes, and expecting that nature will continue to give us a bounty, and we could become big commercial beekeepers, and we could have a thriving big industry. But that's leaving a lot up to chance. If we are farming with beekeeping in mind, if we are farming with secondary products in mind, and create a synergy between agriculture and apiculture, then secure a vibrant, high quality sector. The Caribbean is noted for many medicinal plants that are native to the region, and we can build on that so that we go beyond the question about the award to talking about a quality product that Caribbean could be noted for. And even if we went to the competition and the judge didn't like the taste of your honey and you did not win an award, you know that your honey is still the best honey because you have, all of these other factors that make your honey great. So yes, it's great to win the awards, but I think as we move forward, there's a lot of interest right now, and that's great. We need to talk about consolidating apiculture with serious agriculture.
Yes.
It does not have to, and there are different forms of agriculture. If you're planting lettuce and cabbage and whatnot, you're not planting anything for your bees. That I have a neighbor who has cleared his entire land. He uses and weed eats everything, and it's clean, and he's doing cash crops.
Right.
I'm next door, and I've got over 40 acres that I've left in wild trees. I've planted other trees. I've planted specific trees for my apiary. And his daughter decides she wants to become a beekeeper like me, and she brought hives to her land. And I had to ask her, well, what are your bees feeding on?
Yes, your trees.
You've cleaned your land. Yes, it's your land. And she's like, oh, it's my land. I said, yes, it's your land, but you've cleaned it. You've cleaned it out. You're planting cash crops. You're planting lettuce, planting cabbage. You're planting carrots. What are your bees feeding on? Right? So we have to come up with a different model of agriculture for bees, or else we would have a lot of hungry bees on the islands. If we're cutting down all the trees for development, cutting down the trees to plant food, how could we be building a vibrant apiculture sector at the same time?
Yeah. Well, this is the problem that planners have. You see, a lot of institutions, a lot of government institutions see apiculture as a new buzz thing. To coin a word, but they're not applying.
No, but you can't blame government for everything. It's very easy to blame the government. If the government is giving you support, that's a great thing. If you have institutional support, you have technical support, you have financial support, the onus is on the industry players to understand the industry. It's not for the government to understand the industry. The government says, let's go to apiculture, the beekeeper should be happy. What the beekeeper needs to say to the government, can I lease 50 acres of land? Or can I, there was a group that leased a farm. They leased this farm from the government, and it was over 160 acres of land. And unfortunately, they couldn't manage it, and they had to give it up. But
so but my question is, Valma, sorry to interrupt you. I don't think beekeepers should be in the business of leasing land.
Why
think
not?
no.
Why
Listen, because there's so much economic pressures on them already. If the government,
Richard, you are thinking of beekeeping as an isolated business. Beekeeping is not an isolated.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying to you, if hold on, if we live in, let me give you an example.
It's my time, and I'm going to leave very soon. It's my time because I have 3 waiting for me. Listen, if a beekeeper does not have the resources to invest properly in his business, he would have already failed.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, if you can look at models of cooperation where you can bring people together, where one person may not have the resources, but a group of people can lease 50 acres of land. Lease of agricultural land is very low as opposed to lease for other purposes.
Yes.
You lease the land, you can keep the land in wild trees, you can plant things. There are things you can plant that within a year, within 2 years, you have a lot of food for your bees.
Yes.
You cannot have a vibrant bee business, apiculture business, as a nomad. The nomadic idea of doing beekeeping and being successful at it is just going to set up a lot of people, get them excited, and then they will
agree. I agree 100% with you, but here's my point. You have most of our islands, St. Lucia, it's 238 square miles. It's not a very big place. We have institutions within our public sector that have a responsibility to manage the ecosystem. The governments engage in ongoing tree planting projects all the time, every year, all the time. All right, if there are certain sites, we've got a number of Ramsar sites in St. Lucia, which are protected areas, protected ecological areas. These areas and other areas like it, we should be intensifying, directing the course of the forestry department, plant these types of trees and plant them in abundance as an ongoing exercise.
Okay, Richard.
And they have the resources to do it.
We'll have to continue this conversation another day. Because you also have to look at the biodiversity of your system complex.
Yes.
So it's a whole other conversation, and we can take on a separate discussion about planting for apiculture. But it's something that must happen. You cannot get people excited about doing beekeeping because we end up with a lot of hungry bees if beekeepers do not have sufficient lands so that they can be successful. Because we have there's an issue right now in Grenada where there's one region where there's a lot of food and about 4 persons have moved into that area. Nobody owns land in there, so nobody has ownership. So everybody's jostling for a little piece of that area, and their production, everybody's production has dropped. There's a lot of hungry bees, not enough trees for the amount of people who wants to set up in that area. So unless we are managing the landscape for apiculture, this idea of having a big industry is going to get problematic.
It definitely will fail.
Already, I have planted my zone. Every year I'm planting thousands of trees and it's my land.
Yes.
And already there are people who thinking they could come and set up in the area. And that's wrong. That's a no-no. So unless you have cooperatives of people or with the government or with forestry really coming together to have
that's my point.
But government doesn't have to do everything.
But we're not relying on them. But they are the key stakeholder as well as beekeeper. But they are critical.
No. That's the problem we have. Government's role is to facilitate. Government is not the stakeholder. The government's role is to facilitate development, is to create the policy framework for people to thrive. Government is not the lead. And we are giving government the lead and stepping back and saying the government need to do this, the government to do that. So then all of us are disempowering ourselves.
We need to work together. We need to work together.
Of
We
course,
need to work collectively.
but government is not the key stakeholder. Government is to facilitate the process.
That's true. The private sector is the key stakeholder. Let me correct myself. The private sector is the key stakeholder.
I wouldn't call any one person the key stakeholder, but you cannot be blaming the government for everything to happen. If you want to make money, you have to put your mouth there. You
exactly.
Have to put your interest there.
You can't the flesh on the table.
For somebody to give you a handout
there
all
you
the
go.
time.
There you go.
Have to make your investments also. But
there
government has a key role to facilitate, to put policy frameworks in place. The development agencies who are helping, they're facilitating. But the individual now has a responsibility to make it successful.
I agree.
And we need to take up this conversation another time.
I agree. And we need to fit in a few questions. We need to get a few questions in. We need to, because we've definitely hugged the discussion.
But this is great. Rich, before you take, let me just make a small contribution on the original question.
Yes.
It's a pullback in a way, because I can speak from the perspective of a two-island state in terms of the value of awards, right? Traditionally, once you live in Tobago, 60,000 or 70,000 people, Trinidad 1.2, something like that. And you're going to visit, you have to take Benny Ball or sugar cake or some local stuff. In the case of Tobago, because of 10 years of unparalleled success in beekeeping and publicity, people have abandoned Benny Ball, and they tell you when you're coming, bring me honey. Don't come unless you bring honey. I'm just pointing that out a little anti-factor in terms of the benefits of winning awards at National Honey Show. And yes, we've reached the stage, I think, on the island where we are seeing reductions in yields, and I think clearly there is a need to go the direction in which Dr. Jessime is suggesting we need to start planting specifically. But generally, we don't have a sufficiently wide enough base of interested persons to capitalize on
exactly
what exists now.
Exactly.
All right.
So it needs to be a bipartisan. I've muted for Monica. Monica Smith wants to make a contribution. Please go ahead, Monica.
Well, I was just saying how it really starts at a community level. It doesn't really start at a government level. We had just got our city nominated as a Bee City USA, and that is encouraging the community to build habitats and protect habitats for pollinators and other insects. So, she kept saying that, this isn't a government thing. It's not a government thing. And by beekeeping organizations, influencing the local community, even if you don't have an area to put a garden, a flower box on your patio or outside your window is enough to benefit. When pollinators are flying over and they're going over these food deserts like she's talking about, they can't make it home. So that stress makes for unhealthy colonies. And if we're providing plants throughout our communities where these pollinators can go, it's really helping, the health of all these pollinators, not just honeybees alike.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we need more community involvement. We need more people to plant trees. I know there's a community I'm working with in Trinidad, the Brasso Seco Boys. I know the Brasso Seco Boys have a massive tree planting activity going in the northern area. Yeah. And planting a lot of trees. So good. I mean, it's a good job to Javed and Winston and the rest of the gang up in Brasso Seco planting all these trees. So yes, if you got the technical skills and know how to germinate your plants, germinate your trees, go for it. And let's plant them and let's get them in the ground and make more honey.
So for instance, Richard, I planted avocado trees.
Yes.
Right? In one of my bee yards. And it's the most avocados I've ever seen. The trees are not that big, and the amount of pollination services I get from my bees. Yes. So you have to be deliberate, the farmer, the beekeeper, in what he plants. It's not only things for the bees and then he cannot get another source of income out of the farm, right? Avocados, of course, will take some time to to grow, but there are other things that you can have much quicker. And so there has to be a systematic approach to doing this. You could plant a lot of trees and they may not be trees that are going to provide any pollination benefit or good quality nectar for good quality honey. So it has to be done with a plan so that you're planting with purpose.
Correct, correct.
And what about the notion of bee-friendly spaces? We seem to be over manicuring the side of the road and, you know, we want lawn. What's wrong with some flowers? I've stopped cutting my yard basically. And, you know, you got the vervine and the Christmas bush and all of that shooting up the and you find the bees on it. So bee-friendly spaces, bee-friendly towns and cities, you know, conceptually, rather than not wanting to see anything growing on the side of the road, wildflowers are beautiful.
I agree, Gladstone. They're not just beautiful, most of them are medicinal plants.
There you go, there you go, there you go. So let's get another so thank you for your contribution, Monica. Let's try and grab somebody else. Let's see. I think that's Roger. Roger, are you available to talk? Your hand has been up for some time. Roger McLeod, unmute. Yes, Roger.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Good afternoon again. Just going back to a point that the doctor just said, that the quality of food that she's getting, especially with the avocado. Now, I grew up on farmland, and I could tell you, planting vine crops like pumpkins, watermelons, and then we have a lot of corn and this sort of thing. Well, we have an area with a lot of coconuts. We have river run through it, and believe you me, the kind of crops that my father had been planting over the years, because of honeybees, we have seen really good quality stuff over the years. And I mean, now I'm now getting back into it. Sorry to say that I have stopped for a while due to work and this sort of thing. So I can't wait to get back in it. Now we have a lot of rubber trees in which they get nectar from rubber and all this sort of thing. So it's nice to know that you guys who are like the leaders in Caribbean beekeeping right now are actually going for looking for areas and people who could be energized enough to plant for beekeeping, not just for ourselves or just for the market, but also for the bees also, because it's very important to make sure that the bees get that food. You know, it's very, very important. And I applaud her a lot for that. We really need to have this drive where we have to plant, especially in the Caribbean, where a lot of development are taking place right now. Where, I mean, as you see, the government, they chop this, chop that, because they want to build 1 million homes when the year comes. So it would be hard for a lot of us, because I know beekeepers that had to move bees from certain areas, they have to downgrade the amount that they had because of development. But we really have to have this drive that we must plant for the bees. And it would be, to me, it's twofold. It's twofold. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Roger. Thank you for your contribution. Let's pull back up. We've got, I think that's.
I have 4 minutes left. I need to leave here at 1 o'clock.
All right. You want to give a closing comments, Dr. Jessamy, in your 4 minutes?
Well, I think it's great that we are excited about apiculture. I got into apiculture through an act of God. The bees came to the farm, and I had the good sense to keep them. So I started beekeeping by accident, and I've been hooked. So I understand the fever, you know, but I have also put a lot of thought and science into what we do because of my training as a scientist. And my advice to yourself and everyone is that we can actually make good on a very focused, profitable apiculture industry in the region, but we must create bee farms. We must create bee yards, bee gardens to plant with deliberation for the bees, especially given all the pressures of development and the future risk scenarios for climate change. We cannot take it for granted that the trees are always going to blossom. We are in the tropics, and if you plant the right diversity mix, your bees would have food throughout the year.
Right.
Not only in one time of the year. So there are some places where you have only Gloricida, and in the rest of the year, the bees are hungry. So you can deliberately create a planting scheme where you can have food throughout the year, where there is no dearth period, because we are in the tropics, and I have done that. So we need to bring the agronomy, the science, everything into apiculture so that we can create a high value product. The Caribbean is known for a high value honey. If we go back to the 1800s, if we go back to look at some of the medical reports back from the 16th and 1700s, you see Caribbean healing cures with honey in it.
Yes.
You hear stories about the farmer who is struggling to keep some of these European bees that were imported, and he's having a hard time because of the ants and whatever. And this farmer up on whatever hill, he's doing better. He's got 50 hives, and all of that was before Langstroth.
Yes.
Okay. And so the Caribbean is known for having imported European bees. The first recording of that was somewhere in 1616.
Yes.
And have this foundation for producing honey based on the medicinal wild plants. So there is hope for a good apiculture sector, but it has to be married with something else so that it could be successful. It has to be married to some form of agriculture so that you can deliberately, like in New Zealand, honey, manuka, is linked to the planting of the tea tree.
Yes.
So people deliberately plant tea tree farms and they get the tea tree oil. So there's a tea tree industry and a manuka honey industry, right? And both are very valuable. So this is my next meeting.
All right, Dr. Jessamy, I just thank you immensely for your time and your input and your insight. I know this session will go up on YouTube and on Facebook, so persons that are tuned in can segment. I'll even probably just do a special section just on Dr. Jessamy's contribution to today's session, have it as a separate on YouTube.
Let them know that I'm in my farm clothes.
Right, farm clothes or not, it's what's in the head, man. It's what's in the mind. That's what's important. Your appearance is material, the mind. I think the message that you shared today is invaluable. I know Mr. Romulus is probably making notes. I saw he's posted a few comments in the chat, so giving you some accolades. So I'm sure in his closing comments, and I'm seeing that a lot of persons are saying, Dr. Jessamy, go, go, go. So I know that you've made a even your time was short, and you've probably gone over.
Yes.
Gone over your allotted time. I'm truly grateful that you were able to spare that time with us, and I think it's what your contribution has been fantastic. And I think, as always, we need to try to not steal your ideas, but try to emulate some of the things that you have done. I'm a true believer you've got a lot of personal equity in your projects that you've developed. So I don't expect, hey, Rama, what trees did you exactly plant? Can you tell me the long list of trees? I'm going to do my own research, and I'm going to do my own homework, and I'm going to try and...
The thing is, it's based on your location and your soil. So what does best in one region may not do well in another region. So you have to understand your region and develop so that there's also environmental sustainability built into what you're doing. Good. And I have to thank yourself and Gladstone for the work that you're doing and the encouragement that you're giving also to me and to other persons. So thank you so much for this. I know Gladstone wants to say something.
See, I put my head on a block.
They take mine instead.
Not up here.
Okay, so thank you guys so much. And
keep up me. Thank you, man. The pleasure is always mine. Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Okay, everybody, enjoy the rest of the workshop.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, everybody. So it's the last 2 men standing, Gladstone.
Yep.
I'm sure Mr. Romulus has his hand up, and he's gonna close off. Close off. You can go ahead and unmute your mic, sir, please.
Hi. Wow, what a morning! What a finale! What a high point to end on. I hope this is ending in a climax, and what Vimla has done is to bring us face to face with the integrated approach to apiculture, a more scientific approach.
Yes.
A more managed approach, an approach that can help us to protect our biodiversity at the same time, have even viable apiaries in the Caribbean. I think she's made a very strong argument for us to look at the entire industry. And let us do an analysis. Let us look at the components of that industry, how we can own it, manage it, develop it, nurture it for the benefits of ourselves, our economies, our countries, our people. I think the moving towards this honey tasting competition will be one way of pushing our apiculturists towards higher standards. I think we should maintain that. We should thrive to have a very successful program at the end of the year in December. And I think you fellows are Gladstone and Vimla and Richard. You all belong to the faculty, man, of apiculture in the Caribbean. And maybe we have a pro-vice chancellor and a chancellor there, and a dean of the faculty of apiculture there. We have all three of you there. And I'm sure there are others who are going to be the senior lecturers in that faculty of apiculture in the Caribbean. And we will depend on you all to assist as we develop our apiculture in the Caribbean. But we must also begin to do some documenting as well in the Caribbean. Our history is not one. We are very good speakers, but not very good documenters. And we therefore have to begin that documenting process and bring in real science into the analysis and also into the helping us to plan how we develop that industry. Another thing, we have to begin to advocate for policies that are bee sensitive, bee protective, and that can help our industry to thrive. I agree with Vimla, let us get government to put the policy and framework in place so that we can expand that industry. I think, more than anything else, we've been talking about something that is authentically Caribbean, something that can give us an identity, something that can make us stand in this period of food security and nutritional security. I really believe developing apiculture in the Caribbean will help us on several different levels. And it can be at the low end of the very small 1-acre farmer to the very large 50-acre farmer. But we have to develop it in a period where information is available, the science is available, the training is available when required, the extension requirements are available, and of course we have a plan and a strategy and a vision as well. I often believe in the Caribbean, our visions have been externally set, manipulated, and developed by others. And what that has done is turn us into mendicants and looking for handouts from the so-called first world countries. I believe we have an opportunity in agriculture to turn that thinking around and make the dynamic emanate from within the Caribbean. Let us develop, let us turn to our culture, let us turn to our history and get that strength, you know. Let us jump from what Martin Carter, the guy is, from that nigger yard of yesterday into today where there are possibilities infinite, and let us develop that industry. Let us begin to work at different levels. And this in respects is what the Jeff is going to do. That is why we have invested time and we've just invested resources, and we are trying to work at all different levels for our knowledge fair, the policy and the legal area, the ideation component. We are integrating climate change and the lessons from that. We are trying to promote our small bee farmers so that they can transcend the psychological barrier to development. And that is one of the things we have to do in the Caribbean. We have to build so much confidence that the negativity and the challenges and the fears are relegated to this archaeological heap of the Caribbean, and become people who are seeing possibilities all the time, who are seeing, who are identifying the challenges, but are able to transcend those challenges.
Yep. That's a bad
Let this Caribbean of ours become not a beacon, but a spotlight of change in the area of agriculture. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for contributing. Thanks, Vimla. Thanks, Gladstone. Thanks, Richards. And also our contributors from North America. We are grateful for that, and I think we are now on our way. Let that way be what produces benefits for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Romulus. Gladstone, any final words from you, sir?
Richard, you know, sometimes you have burning passions, and when you participate in events like this, it's a reassurance, you know, that things are being realized. So, you know, I just want to congratulate, you know, all of us, you know, not just congratulate, but ask, you know, Rich, let me just, give me a half a second.
Dear.
All right. I'm going to this book, right? I mean, right, this is the proceedings of the first Caribbean Beekeeping Congress we held in 1990. And I think this said it, because I quoted, ironically, you are speaking from, and I quoted the chairman, sorry, your prime minister at the time. So from my welcome address in 1998, I said, earlier this month, the chairman of CARICOM and the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Dr. Kenny Anthony, made an official visit to Tobago. Dr. Anthony was quoted as saying, despite the fact that waters separate us, we are shaping a new civilization, whether it be in politics, in sports, or in arts. Mr. Chairman, having witnessed what I consider to be the overwhelming response of our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and indeed our brothers and sisters from beyond the region, I wish to suggest to Dr. Anthony that we are also shaping a new civilization in beekeeping. This is what is happening now. You know, so Romulus, thank you for being here. We need to have a unique space. The Caribbean could be the salvation for the world bees. It could be a zone of conservation for bees because of our islandness. You know, so these are just insights. And we need to involve academics. We need to involve different aspects of technology. We need to get more hands-on in the industry. I'm getting a sense in a very meaningful way, you know, after 30 odd years or so in the industry, that this thing has been going on and it's growing, it's crescendoing. So I'm elated, man. I'm sort of over the moon, you know. So I'm one of the happiest guys in the world today because of what happened the last few days and the energy that I know is resonating within the region, you know, and the things that are happening in the respective islands. So let's keep pushing, man. Let's make it happen. Yes, do like Nike, just do it. That's it.
That's great words, Brother Solomon. I 110% agree with both yourself and Mr. Romulus. I'm not wanting to belabor everybody's overdue lunch. I would just like to say to remember, when you log out, please complete the exit survey so that we can at least see where everybody's at, and you know, we can help build a profile so that Jeff, SGP, UNDP can make more interventions of this nature, so that we can help you, we can work with Jeff to help us build our industry. We are as the primary beneficiaries, we as the beekeepers have to shape the future we want for our sector from the ground up by ourselves. And it's important that we make that investment in time and effort. We educate ourselves, we equip ourselves, we network with one another to help bring up the industry to where we want it. As Dr. Jessamy rightly said, you know, we need to look at our environments and help shape the environments with plants, sources that can best help us. I, as a breeder, you know, I kind of neglect the honey side of the business, and I more focus on the breeding side of the business. And I leave the honey side to champions such as yourselves. You know, you'll come battle it out with the flowers, man. I'm just gonna make bees, man. Because at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. We're turning nectar into bees. And that's basically what we're doing. And the endless supply of nectar we have in the Caribbean, we can just make more bees. And that's my standpoint. So I just want to thank everybody who participated. Special thanks to Jennifer and Karla, who gave their time freely all the way from the United States. Special thanks to Gladstone and Dr. Jessamy, who once again gave their time freely, you know, just for the ability to share the experiences and the knowledge. I'm sure nobody who, other than a small select few people, knew that the Caribbean had so many forays into the international honey competition scene in the United Kingdom, and that Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago were the pioneers, really clearing the way for everything that we have done quietly. I think it's
enough for us. Had an entry since 1987.
Exactly. So it's important now for us to really galvanize these individual efforts and pull them together in one very strong, potent piece of energy. And let's move on. So like, rather having these little beams of light individually piercing the darkness, let's bring all these beams of light together and make one powerful beam of light that can really take the darkness out of apiculture, bring us into light, bring us into the 21st century. It's important that we light up this space and really move forward together as a single unit, because we can only overcome the barriers of entering markets, of, you know, even selling honey to one another. It's a problem. So we really need to you know, break down these barriers and work like our bees and have a single focus. I think the regional project that Mr. Romulus and his team of national coordinators throughout the 6 and the 7th island in the South Pacific will go a long way in focusing that light into a single beam, which can hopefully illuminate the whole Caribbean region. And as we gain success, we can bring more partners from the region into the project so we can make this light even brighter. So let us try to work together. Let's keep it together. I'm gonna take 1 or 2 questions. I'm gonna take 1 or 2 questions from the participants before we go. I think Miss Lauren Archibald has her hands up. So let me just take a quick question from Lauren and then I'm gonna close off. Lauren, unmute your mic and go ahead, please, if you're still here. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. It's not really a question, but I just want to commend you all for such great presentations, such great workshop. I am not a beekeeper, but from all the information that I've gathered here, honestly speaking, I would love to get into beekeeping. And I'm the coordinator here at the Gender Affairs Department on NEVIS. And this is one of the things that we were looking at, that, it would have been good to get women involved in beekeeping, especially in times like these, where a lot of women, because, a lot of women are being employed in the tourism industry. And this would be an opportune time for them to get into beekeeping. Also, what we did was a backyard gardening seminar where we had trained a few persons to do backyard gardening. And that too would have gone well. The beekeeping would have gone well with the backyard, gardening. So I am therefore just commending you all on this excellent training. I was just browsing through Facebook and I came upon it and I said, okay, let me just, see if I would get accepted to listen to this thing. And I must say, I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that I, had a sign in to say, well, I am interested. Thank you very much.
Mr. Romulus wants to say a few words. Mr. Romulus?
No, not exactly, Richard. I want to say thanks to everybody. I think we have started a good thing. Perhaps we need to create a virtual apiculture academy in the Caribbean, where we 3 months or so we have have a session online that promotes apiculture in the Caribbean. Because one of the things in the Caribbean, nothing in the Caribbean just happens.
Yes.
We have to be the change agents, and we have to begin by promoting it in the various fora. I mean, at the OECS level, at the Caribbean level, at our meeting level, at our district level, we have to begin to start the process of transformation at different levels in the society, because we have to find a way to survive and to thrive on these rocks we call the archipelago in the Caribbean. And I think apiculture can do this in many, many ways, particularly as apiculture, a sound environment, full of integrity can go hand in glove, and also food security. I think if we can marry those 3 things, and of course, biodiversity, apiculture, food security, nutritional security, health, I think we have an international brand that cannot be beaten. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, sir. Yes, so I think, Lauren, I hope that's answered your question. We got, who else has the hand up? Peter Mitchell from St. Lucia. Peter Mitchell, I've unmuted you. Please make your contribution quickly.
Yeah, just what Dr. Jessamy said was just so close to my heart, because when I actually came into beekeeping almost by accident, because I just realized I had some trees in my orchard, and I realized there were so many bees coming from wherever. So I decided if bees can come in, why don't I just start my own apiary right in the orchard? And then through that time, I just kept on planting more trees, looking around, seeing what trees the bees like. And when I don't have space, I do a lot of vining crops, like the the cucumbers, the pumpkin, the passion fruit, anything that binds and gives a lot of nectar. I kept doing that, and now the trees are always so loaded. Even the neighbors now trees are becoming loaded too because they have trees and they depend on my bees. So all in all, it's just working together and it's great stuff. The whole thing has been a great inspiration. Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Peter Mitchell. Great stuff, man. All the way from Choiseul in the south of the island. Great stuff, Peter. Thanks. Okay, I think we'll take a couple quick more. Mr. Small, Barbados, I think that is Galaxy J6.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Small.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
What I want to say is this is so great happening, and Lucia is behind it all, which is good. But at the end of the day, what we need to do in terms of what Miss Jessamy said, Dr. Jessamy, is that we definitely need to plant bee plants throughout the Caribbean. And I came across some bitter honey in one of my locations. And I tell the guys, my guys that work, I said that this could be a medicinal product. And we need to get involved in the testing of the whatever medicinal property there are in our honeys, because when I go over like people producing honey and that kind of stuff. So we definitely need to. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we were losing you for a bit.
Richard.
Yes, we were losing you for a little bit.
What I said, Dr. Jessamy today really brought it out in terms of planting the Caribbean, looking for apiaries that planted plants and that kind of stuff. Because as you know, avocado is one of the greatest producers of nectar. And also what we're doing in the Caribbean is so good to see Gladstone, here Jennifer, and they're doing their thing in terms of helping us. And you talk about bees. I will be willing to help you. I was training identifying the African bee and that kind of stuff. And in terms of Nozema, I will be willing to help and give you a hand in terms of that kind of work.
Great stuff, man. Thanks, David. Greatly appreciate that contribution, my brother. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, take care. Moving on. Let's try and get one last one. We've got Factum John. I can't. Please, if you unmute your mic and make a contribution, sir or madam. Fashuti, Fachottie. John, you just unmute your mic and make a contribution, please. We're running out of time. Okay, no problem. All right, that may be an error. 10 seconds. All right, let's move on. Anybody else? We got Small, we got everybody. Clive, Risa, do you want to say one more last comment? I know I see you've got a few questions in the group. If you want to say, no, she's left already. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I think we had a great session. Anybody that wants to reach out to me directly, I've posted my, you should have my contact information from the invite from Zoom. You could always buzz me an email if you need to get any of the presenters' contact information. I could always respond to you. Or if you need any information about beekeeping generally, you could go to our Facebook page or go to our website, ianolaapiculture.org, and there'll be lots of information there for you. Iverson Calyx, any link with plants and flowers available in the Caribbean for foraging as well as seasons. Yeah, there's lots of information on that, Iverson, but that's a whole topic all by itself. We'll have to email on that one. All right, so I think this has been fantastic. I knew it would have been, we would have put on a great show. I just didn't think it would have been as good as this. You know, and I'm really happy for all the panelists, panelists that participated, and all the participants from across the globe who participated. Really happy to see you guys got out there and really participated. I'm really happy to see that the interaction obviously shows that there's a thirst and a desire for information on apiculture from the region. And I know myself and Gladstone and Mr. Romanus will do our best to get that information out to you all. I will add everybody who participated in this session to the ACBO mailing list, so she'll get our quarterly magazine that has loads of information. And if you want anything to know information, you know, you can get it there, or go to I Know the Apiculture Collective Facebook page or YouTube stream, and you can get some lots of information there. So on that note, thank you everybody for what you've done and all your time, and you know, bless. Keep up, look after your bees, man, and focus. Thank you very much. All the best. Gladstone, sign off, man. All the best.
Yeah, brother.
All right, take care. Peace and love, man. Bye.